It's dry and brightening up through Saturday with some sunny spells and still quite mild.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. Only on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, it's Friday, the 7th of November. Giving myself an extra day of the week there, don't need to do that. It's Friday and my name's Tom Harwood.
You got that one right. And my name is Dawn Neeson and welcome to the show.
Yes, the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Lucy Powell, says that the party must stick to its manifesto pledge not to raise income tax, putting the pressure on the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who hasn't ruled it out. With differences emerging on tax and welfare, is Sir Keir Starmer's party as united as it seems?
Well, now that Lucy Powell is no longer in the cabinet, she can say what she likes. It's making things very awkward for a chancellor who looks set to raise income tax for the first time in 50 years, the basic rate. Meanwhile, pressure is piling on the BBC. Boris Johnson says Director General Tim Davie must explain or resign amid explosive claims of a bias at the corporation. From Trump to trans issues, are licence fee payers being misled? Comes as the BBC obviously rebuked newsreader Martine Croxall for this.
The aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
Elsewhere, calls grow for a grooming inquiry in Scotland. As GB News reveals shocking allegations, Police Scotland turned a blind eye to an abuse network operating in Glasgow.
And we also have some devastating evidence from the care records of one victim where it appears that the authorities have censored a reference to the men who abused her.
Awful. Pride plunges across Sir Keir Starmer's divided kingdom. A new poll paints a grim picture of falling patriotism, rising division and growing nostalgia for Britain we used to know. Even amongst youngsters will debate if the nation is truly divided.
Elsewhere, a new twist for Prince Andrew. American lawmakers want him to face questions in Congress over his long friendship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
And Angela Rayner's next chapter. Literally, the former Deputy PM is said to be writing her memoirs, and Westminster's already wondering if it's really chapter 1 of her bid for the Labour leadership.
Well, it's a busy show today.
It started really well, though. I just want to say thank you for your company. I really, really, really enjoy your company when I'm working with Tom. And the clue is that I'm working with Tom. Well, and we're off to a flying start by just about realising what actual day it is. It is a Friday.
That's correct. It is a Friday, which does mean there's a little bit of heightened levity in the programme. Yeah. And Dawn, I wondered if you'd seen this. This is a video of the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, wearing a clown costume, standing in for the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Questions. Now, this is an AI video, before anyone gets the wrong idea.
Really? Oh, gosh.
It's not actually real.
Damn.
But this was actually posted by Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, on social media earlier on. It's drawn quite a lot of criticism and quite a lot of praise. What do you make of it?
OK, now, while I think it is humorous and it's quite clearly, it's just quite clearly AI and some fun and games, I do think it's slightly childish. I'm sorry, what do you think, then?
Well, I think politicians can be childish sometimes, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to sort of... It's like a sort of modern-day form of a political cartoon, in my view.
I don't mind it when, like, the newspapers do it, for example, like the Daily Star, my former newspaper, infamously did Liz Truss the letters.
Yes.
That was quite humorous. That's a tabloid fun. But do I want a politician doing... I'm not sure. Catherine Forster, you've got experience of politicians. What do you make of it?
Well, what I think is that Robert Jenrick is an absolute expert of making news. You know, when he did the Fair Dodgers on the Tube, millions and millions of views. And I think this is another example of that. Some people are quite cross with him about it, but clearly no one in their right mind is going to believe that this is genuine. And I think David Lammy has still got a lot of questions to answer.
Well, it's drawn attention to the issue, hasn't it?
And the caption is Calamity Lammy, which is very clever. And nicknames are great if they're given in... I mean, you've got some fun nicknames, haven't you? We can't say any of them on air, obviously. But...
they are pertinent, though. I mean, the way that Donald Trump was able to coin so many nicknames for his political opponents on both the Democrat and the Republican side, I wonder if we're going to see more of this in British politics.
Yes, indeed. Well, let us know your thoughts on that. gbnews.com/your say. It is a Friday. Let's have some fun as well as doing the serious stuff. Talking of the serious stuff, here are the news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Dawn, thank you. Very good afternoon. It's just gone midday. These are your top stories. Now, we start with some breaking news in the last half hour that Julia Wandelt, the woman who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, has been found guilty of harassing Kate and Jerry McCann, but has been found not guilty of stalking. The 24-year-old Polish woman turned up at the home of Madeleine McCann's parents and sent sinister letters and messages repeatedly, begging for a DNA test. A 5-week trial at Leicester Crown Court heard that Wandelt claimed to have memories induced by hypnosis sessions of being abducted and of living with the McCanns as a child. The 24-year-old appeared in court with Karen Spragg, who was also to be sentenced for harassment and stalking, but she was found not guilty. Elsewhere, Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour over whether to raise taxes ahead of the budget later this month. Deputy Leader Lucy Powell has warned that breaking Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT could damage trust in politics. Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director General Tim Davie to address the left-wing bias at the broadcaster or to resign. The former Prime Minister says that the BBC has been caught red-handed following the Telegraph's report, accusing the broadcaster of one-sided Gaza coverage, censoring the trans debate and editing Donald Trump's 2021 Capitol speech. The newspaper also revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from former BBC Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who said that he is in, quote, despair over the executives who are ignoring widespread evidence of bias. Now, Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho spoke to GB News earlier and echoed Boris Johnson's calls for Davie to explain.
If it's true on the equality side, for example, that they've got people screening the news, only putting forward one side of the gender ideology debate, then of course that is really worrying. So I think we need to establish the facts, and Tim Davies, as the Director General, needs to set out what he's going to do to fix the problem if they can show there is one.
And the manhunt for the migrant sex offender has entered its third day as Justice Secretary David Lammy faces mounting criticism over his handling of the mistaken prisoner release. 24-year-old Brahim Kudur Sharif, an Algerian national, was wrongly set free on the 29th of October from HMP Wandsworth. The government has called the situation utterly unacceptable, with prison governors summoned for crisis talks. The Deputy Prime Minister admits that he wasn't given all the details about the blunder when quizzed in Parliament, as pressure mounts over Labour's early release scheme, now blamed for creating confusion across the prison system. Meanwhile, Housing Secretary Steve Reid defended the Justice Secretary against the allegations of incompetence.
The Justice Secretary, in my view, has done the right thing. You can't, as Justice Secretary, comment on an individual case if you don't have all the facts to hand. We all know that the real problem in the criminal justice system is it was totally broken. 800 people who should have been banged up walked free under the previous government. They knew the problem was that we had a paper-based system. They refused to invest in digitising it. We recognise the problem. We take responsibility for the problem. We will invest where they didn't, and that will keep the people of this country safe.
And as the nation prepares to remember those who served on Remembrance Sunday, broadcaster Angela Rippon will deliver an address this morning at the Animals in War Memorial in Hyde Park. The event will recognise the vital roles of horses, donkeys and mules who served and suffered alongside soldiers in past wars and conflicts. GB News spoke to Angela Rippon earlier this morning ahead of her address.
It's not been a single year since the end of the Second World War when we have not had a conflict of some sort, and animals are still being used. Today, in the 21st century, in Ukraine, wow, who are leading the way in using drones in modern warfare, they are doing what they did in the First World War, and they're using horses, donkeys and mules to take the wounded out, to bring things in.
Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'll be back in just under half an hour, but before I go, let's check in on the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets this afternoon. The pound will buy you $1.310 and 1.134 euros. The price of gold is £3,054.72 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 9,682 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain at 10 minutes past midday. Breaking news just in. Yes, GB News can exclusively reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now. Mark, give us the gory details on this one.
Well, as I speak to you, let's take a look at some images that have been shot on the other side of the channel this morning. And these are incredible images because of the weather conditions out there. You know, they're not perfect at all. They're fairly windy. I think we've got moving video as well, but somehow that seems to be still images. But you can see it's misty out there. There's a fair bit of wind blowing, which is churning up the seas, but the wind is blowing in such a direction that it pushes the migrant boats towards the UK. Yesterday, we had just over 600 arrived throughout the day. Then overnight, we got into the early hours, we got another 200. And then this morning, as we speak, more small boats have crossed the English Channel. 3 have already made the line, and another one is being escorted by the French patrol vessel Mink. It's a little bit by the line, but it's again heading with these winds at its back, pushing it towards UK waters. So it's likely that we are going to be over 1,000 now for this 24-hour period. And this is important because just in recent days we've had growing numbers of ministers and others that support the government's current policy telling us that their policy is working, because for 2 weeks there have been no crossings, and this is the longest sustained period without any crossings, which is true. But the reason has been the horrific conditions in the English Channel over that period, which means these boats have not been able to be launched by the people smugglers. Now they are. Now they're coming, just as they always do when the weather improves.
And to be clear here, Mark, we're talking about improved weather. I mean, it's not sunshine and happiness in the English Channel. No. I mean, these are still rough conditions. How bad was it in the previous couple of weeks?
Well, it's all to do with the wind direction, to be honest. The wind direction is kind of pushing them back towards the shore and whipping up the waves. It then becomes impassable. These boats are pretty flimsy, especially when they're stuffed full of 80 or 90 people. Just yesterday, a boat broke apart 4 miles from Dunkirk, heading towards the UK, hit by heavy swells, and those people had to be rescued, 3 taken to hospital. So it gives you an indication of the risks that the migrants and the people smugglers are taking to make this illegal crossing. But they will do that. We've seen in the last few years that even over the winter months, if the conditions are doable, they'll push out. And they'll often push out in big numbers, because you get long periods where the conditions are not doable. So any break in the weather, you get what we're getting today, which is 1,000 migrants in the space of 24 hours.
And just to be clear, for those listening on the radio, Mark, an increasing number of you, thank you very much, but these are, they're very big dinghies, and they are absolutely rammed. And from what we can see of the pictures that you're showing us now, they all appear to be young men again.
Well, the vast majority, yes, will absolutely be young men. The statistics officially show that upwards of about 85% of those crossing are young men. The rest are what are considered young boys or women and children. So, yeah, the vast majority, we've seen it over recent years, are always men.
And do you have any response from the government about these 1,000 arrivals?
Not about these 1,000 arrivals. We just get pointed to what are the usual statements from the government about the fact that, you know, they are getting on top of the situation with all of the efforts to smash the criminal gangs and the deals that they have hatched with France and, you know, other countries to expedite the removal of those that come here illegally.
Well, Mark White, thanks very much indeed for that breaking news. 1,000 illegal migrants across the United Kingdom in just the last 24 hours.
Absolutely shocking. Now, OK, in other news that you're not going to be that happy with, budgets getting closer and closer. And are we beginning to see cracks within the Labour Party itself?
Yes, the Deputy Party leader, Lucy Powell, has made it clear that she believes Labour should be standing by its manifesto commitments. Remember, they promised not to raise income tax, VAT or national insurance. Now, whilst the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, seems to be preparing to raise at least one of those big 3 taxes.
So, how divided are Labour on this issue exactly? The person with the answer to that is political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, didn't they learn their lessons from the Tories infighting?
They did a very good job, didn't they, before the election, of keeping any internal divisions under wraps. That has long gone. And, of course, what has happened now is we're only 3 weeks from this big budget where we more and more every day expect the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, to raise income tax, the basic rate, probably by 2p. She will be the first Chancellor to do that if she goes ahead with it for 50 years. But lo and behold, because of that reshuffle, because of Angela Rayner having to go, Lucy Powell, who was Deputy Leader of the House, was booted out of the Cabinet. She subsequently won the election as Deputy Labour Leader, and she is running with it because she was the choice for those that were not happy with the powers that be, with the Prime Minister, with Rachel Reeves. And because she's no longer in the Cabinet, she's not bound by Cabinet responsibility. So she can say whatever she likes. So she's given an interview and she said we should be following through on our manifesto. Of course, there's no question about that. She also said if we're to take the country with us, they've got to trust us. But, of course, looking at the poll ratings and looking at all the things that the government has done since the election that they didn't say they were going to do, including, you know, all the national insurance employer rises and other things, I think many people will think that the trust ship has already sailed.
Yeah, and you couldn't not but agree with that one. Now, she has been named Disruptor of the Year by Spectator magazine, and she's certainly doing a good job of that, isn't she? I was very curious, that picture of her sitting on the benches right next to Angela Rayner, right behind Keir Starmer. And you could speculate that both of them were armed with knives.
Yes, indeed, Disruptor of the Year. And, of course, we also know that she is very close to Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester. Now, round about the time of conference, there was a whole hullabaloo about him. Was he sort of planning to try to stage some sort of coup and take the Prime Minister out? It all backfired a bit. Not to say that that's not possible down the line, but certainly, look, there are so many people in Labour now that think the Prime Minister will not lead them into the next general election.
I have to say, I was at that awards ceremony where Lucy Powell won Disruptor of the Year. I caught her just before she was announced to be winning it, and it was the day that she sat next to Angela Rayner at Prime Minister's Questions, and I just asked her, is that planned? Have you been talking a lot with Angela Rayner? Are you plotting anything? I have to say she was very diplomatic in her answer.
She ignored you then?
She, no. She was polite, if a little dismissive.
Right. Interesting times. Wait and see. Catherine, thank you very much for bringing us that. Interesting news on division in the Labour top ranks there.
Well, it is 18 minutes past midday, and in other news, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson is calling on the BBC Director-General Tim Davie to explain or resign.
It comes as an expose accuses the broadcaster of bias in its Gaza coverage, the trans debate and reporting on Donald Trump.
Well, the Telegraph revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from the ex-Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who says he's in despair over bosses ignoring evidence of bias.
Yes, and as the pressure mounts, can the BBC win back the public's trust?
Well, let's speak to the former BBC journalist Chris Middleton now. Chris, it does seem like it's crisis after crisis for the BBC.
I mean, absolutely. What a week it's been for the BBC. Every day it's just more and more coming out from this dossier, starting off with Trump. We've had they're falsifying history, taking fringe views, the trans stuff, the Gaza stuff. We've had a fake story about car insurers being racist. I mean, I'm sad it's Friday in a sense, because I'd be excited to hear what comes out next.
And of course, now we have the Martin Cruxall incident, the BBC newsreader who dared to roll her eyes and correct the auto cue about pregnant people, saying pregnant women. I mean, she's been taken to task by the BBC in the very same week that they are found to have spliced together Donald Trump speeches, making him say something that was completely inaccurate. I'm sorry, there's no comparison between the two crimes, in inverted commas, surely.
No, I mean, it's awful timing for them to come out with that in the middle of this week, as if they don't have enough going on their plate. I mean, I was a newsreader at the BBC for 7 years. Thankfully, I was on the radio, so I could get away with making silly faces. But let's be clear, like, what's happened here. She's been reprimanded for apparently expressing a personal view by pulling this face, by changing the word from pregnant people to women and then making a face. But I think the thing that people seem to be missing here is that the person who's making the personal view in this is the person who wrote the script that she had to read. Calling pregnant women pregnant people is clearly a personal view. It's outside the mainstream discourse. So why was the newsreader reprimanded? what's happened to the person who wrote the script. They've clearly just put in their own personal opinion and stitched the newsreader up, in my opinion.
Actually, that's a really good point. I haven't thought of that, yeah.
It's the perennial battle, I suppose. You've got some people at the BBC who view the world in a very, very different way to what perhaps the majority of the country views the world. And I wonder if this is a fixable issue, because you've got lots of people who don't think they're being biased, who don't think they're proffering something that's outside the norm, because in their social circle, at their dinner parties, in North London, it's all exactly the same. That's what people think.
What, men give birth?
Well, I'm sure that there'll be lots of people who thought that they were saying something that was absolutely true. And this is the problem, because if someone thinks they're saying something that is absolutely true, and most of the country think they're saying something that is preposterous, how do you have those two things meet? I mean, what is the solution here?
Well, you could try sticking to biological facts, couldn't you, Chris?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point, Tom, and it shows you just how widespread it is at the institution, that there's no one there to raise a question. Should we be doing this? Are we going off kilter here? There's no one in the whole newsroom, apparently, that has the alternate view that can put it forward. The thing with an institution like the BBC is they've had decades and decades where they've built up all this trust with the public, and that's now essentially just been lost in a moment. You know, trust takes a long time to build, but it can be lost instantly. And this is why, no one trusts them anymore. If you look at the stats, every single year, especially since COVID, their trust and their reputation from their audience has just been going down and down and down. Now we don't need to hear any more slogans from people like Tim Davie. And don't forget, when Tim Davie came in, when he was appointed as the Director General, his main thing was that he said he was going to restore trust in the BBC. Well, I think he's clearly failed in that.
Chris, do you think, like Boris Johnson and Kemi Badenoch, think that he should resign, he should go?
Well, it's not often that I agree with Boris Johnson, but I think he's pretty bang on in this instance. I mean, Tim Davie's not a bystander in this. He is the leader of the organisation, and as far as I've seen, he's not come out and said anything at all about any of this week. If he wants to restore trust in the organisation, as he said, then he can't be hiding while his institution is facing all of this scrutiny. Either he comes out and explains what's gone wrong, explains that he's going to fix it in some way, what they're going to do to address this whole culture there of this sort of liberal metropolitan bubble that they're all in, how he's actually going to fix it. And if he can't do that, then he needs to resign. He's the head of the public broadcaster, and he's hiding from the public.
Indeed. A highly paid one as well. Thank you very much, Chris. That's former BBC journalist Chris Middleton there. Thank you very much.
Well, on the issue of Maxine Coxall, as we've been discussing, the BBC said, giving the strong impression of expressing a personal view on a controversial matter, even if inadvertently, falls short of the BBC's expectations of its presenters and journalists in relation to impartiality. The BBC added, we continually review our coverage to reflect developments such as the recent Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, thankfully. I don't get sacked for rolling my eyes. Any case, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews, and there's loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is back under the spotlight as the US Democrats ask him to answer questions before Congress over his links to Jeffrey Epstein.
But after the break, demands for a grooming inquiry in Scotland after GBNews uncovers allegations that Police Scotland ignored an abuse network in Glasgow.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Some schools are banning birthday cakes from the classroom.
Yeah, banning parents from sports. And now the great headline in the Telegraph, Labour puts the knife into nursery birthday cake. Apparently, new guidelines for the Department of Education are saying that you should not send your child into school with a cake when it's their birthday, because it's bad for them, it's going to make them fat, all the rest of this stuff. It's the nanny state once again on the march, isn't it?
Is this a new thing? Because I don't remember ever taking a birthday cake.
caking on my birthday.
We did too.
Took a birthday cake.
And I think some schools I've seen that have a fake birthday cake, which is not nearly as nice, with a fake cake with a candle on, so you sing happy birthday and blow out the candle. But, you know, I love the way Jacob Rees-Mogg... European GB News presenter has waded into this row saying, well, my children's nanny sends little cakes into school for all the children.
Absolutely.
He said only... The nanny sends them in. Only socialists...
know what is acceptable and what isn't.
He says only socialists want to stop such innocent pleasures. And I think there's a real point about that. One school, actually, Broxburn Primary in Harrow, is saying, don't send your child in with a cake. Donate a book to the school library instead. I mean, that is just not a good substitute, is it?
Cakes? No, my kids are 1 and 3, so they're not quite at that age yet. But
it'll happen.
It does it. But I mean, it should, because
it doesn't have to be a big splodgy cake. It can just be something.
But even if it's a bit of a treat, there's no way the calories of school birthday cake are the calories making people fat.
No.
So we should focus on the big issues rather than ruining this fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a killjoy. I think kids should have a bit of fun. I just didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah,
it's all changed since my day.
I think maybe it's the teachers who don't like the sugar rush the kids get afterwards, and they can't keep control in the classroom.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. Some breaking news just in.
Yes, the Met Police have confirmed that migrant sex offender Brahim Kedor Sharif has been rearrested after being accidentally released from prison.
Well, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us now with more. Mark, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, it was, and this was just in the last hour that police arrested this Algerian illegal immigrant and offender. It was in Black Horse Lane, which is in Finsbury Park in North London. It followed a tip-off from a member of the public. Scotland Yard said that officers were dispatched to the scene immediately, found Kedor Sharif at that location and arrested him without incident, we're told. So, of course, David Lammy, the Minister of Justice, will be mightily relieved that this man is back in custody now, but there are so many other questions.
He'd been on the run, or let out and on the run for 6 days, wasn't it? So it was quite a head start. So he was still in London. Remember, he was released from Wandsworth Prison, so hadn't really travelled that far.
Which is often the case. You know, people will go to areas that they know, people that they know. We know that he had connections to the Westminster area and also to Tower Hamlets, but he may well have known people up in that area as well. So a 6-day head start. There'd been speculation that he might have left the country, but clearly not, still here, but now back in custody. He'll be taken to police custody initially because he'll be questioned about where he's been in that time. He certainly couldn't have been unaware, even if he was perhaps a little confused about the error that was made initially, given that it was over a week ago that he was released now, and the last couple of days has been absolutely full of this mistake by Wandsworth prison staff. He wouldn't have been unaware of that. So that will form part of the police investigation. There's a possibility, you know, that there could be some kind of penalty, an extension to his prison time, if that is what follows from this anyway, because of his apparent unwillingness to give himself up when he would be aware that there was a manhunt for him. But remember, there is a process already underway that the government has confirmed to us to get him removed from the UK and back to Algeria. He was in that process actually at Colnbrook immigration removal centre, which is near Heathrow Airport, when somehow he found his way, not through his own volition, but the authorities released him from there into the care of the prison service, we believe, pending other criminal matters. This is an individual who has 10 other offences against him, either convictions, previous convictions, or other cases that are working their way through the courts. All of that, I think, probably will be a moot point at the end, because I think there will be an expedited process now to get him out of the country. Much has happened with Hadush Kabatu, who, by the way, when he was captured after 48 hours on the run, was recaptured in that same area of London.
Yes. And yet, Mark, I mean, this guy overstayed his visit visa half a decade ago. The government knew that he was an illegal migrant half a decade ago. They could have removed him half a decade ago, and yet he remained in the country. The process was so slow, so ineffectual, that he went to go on to commit not one, but at least 2 crimes that came into the eye of the state.
Including
one sexual offence.
A sexual offence, indeed.
And then one trespass with a view to steal. I mean, it just boggles the mind, frankly, that he was able to stay for quite so long and then go on to commit so much crime.
Well, I think what is important in this whole issue, while there is rightful focus on the mistakes that have been made within the prison system and on the Ministry of Justice and the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, we shouldn't get away from that. There is such a deep crisis within the prison service that we need to focus on, but also we shouldn't forget the part that the Home Office has once again played in this. As you say, 5 years ago they knew that this man was an illegal immigrant. As I say, he's been described in the nicer term by the government as a visa overstayer, but effectively it's illegal. It's an illegal immigrant.
Do they have for an illegal migrant?
It's a nonsense. I've said this repeatedly, and it's worth repeating. Whether you break into the country in the back of a lorry or in a small boat, as we've been reporting again today, many hundreds of others are doing, or you come in on a visa with the sole intent of staying in this country and living and working illegally, you are an illegal immigrant. He is an illegal immigrant, and there is a process underway to get him removed. But yes, absolutely, Tom, you raised it there. Some real questions for the Home Office here as to why on earth now you might be expediting it. Why did you not do this so many years ago when you knew he was illegal?
More questions than answers, but thankfully he is off the streets now, so, you know, not a danger to the public at the moment. But also, Mark, we learned today that 90 violent sex offenders and other offenders have been released in 1 year. So there are 90 others out there who are just out there on the run still.
Yeah, so this is a cohort within the 262 who were released in the year to March this year.
But these are the ones that are violent and sex offenders.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and so many of them are. They probably not quite the majority, but a very significant proportion of the 262 are people who have been sent to prison for offences of violence and offences of a sexual nature. So that is of deep concern that these individuals are out there. Now, some of them will be recaptured, will have been recaptured, there's no doubt. But as we reported yesterday, there are thousands of fugitives still at large who were wanted on recall to prison. You know, people who had, been let out on licence, had reoffended, were asked back to prison, but disappeared. Almost 3,000 of those, including very violent offenders and sexual offenders who've been missing, sometimes for decades, and still haven't been found.
Now, Mark, very often the government says, well, look, the prisons are a mess. They've always been a mess. People get accidentally released. This has continually happened time and time again. It happened under the previous government. Now, completely true to say it happened under the previous government, but the Telegraph has been reporting Ministry of Justice data, particularly for violent and sexual offenders, this is, the 90 that were released this year under this government. Last year, it was a little over 10. And that was consistent for the previous decade. 10 too many, of course, 10 too many. But it's risen 9-fold, a 900% increase under this government. I mean, what on earth is happening?
Yeah, well, as I say, it's part of the increase anyway in those who have been mistakenly set free by prison staff. And this is a net consequence of the absolute meltdown that the prison system is in at the moment. And part of that, there is no doubt, has been exacerbated by changes that were brought through under Shabana Mahmood when she was Justice Secretary to deal with the overcrowding crisis. You'll remember that she sanctioned the release of prisoners 40% of their sentence being served behind bars. Normally, you get released at the halfway mark and then you're released on licence for the remainder of your sentence. Well, she decided to release them earlier at 40% through their sentence to release thousands of prisoners. But the net result of that was this most almighty churn of people who were suddenly coming up for release much earlier than they were expected to. And the prison service, in dealing with those that have to be released, have to go through very complex, and it's, we've heard in the last day or two, it's all done, by paper trails, pen and paper.
So it's the confusion. It's the fact that some people thought they had a leaving date. Everyone knows their leaving date has changed, but no one can quite find out what their actual leaving date is.
And also because the complexity of the penal system in the way in which sentences are passed, and you get, specific tariffs on certain sentences, and then the early release scheme. And add to that confusion what you have at Wandsworth, which is a remand prison. So in a remand prison, what that means is they deal with those who are actively in the process. They're still presumed innocent until they're found guilty or otherwise at a criminal trial. But in a remand prison, you're dealing with remand prisoners who, by the nature of the fact that they are facing a court case, have to go in and out of the prison on a much more regular basis. So in a prison where you don't really have remand prisoners, it's a bit less of a problem, still an issue, but in a specific remand prison, you've got prisoners going in and out to court, days in court, back and forward all of the time. All have to be, paperwork has to be done, signed out, signed in.
This is the year of our Lord 2025. Why is this stuff not on computers? I mean, why is this not in zeros and ones that can be absolute in who is in and who is out?
This is what David Lammy is saying, though. He is blaming the fact that it is a paper trail and that the whole system now needs to be put on digital a system as well. But Mark, we also learnt this week that the National Police Chiefs Council have warned that by releasing prisoners early, we are going to see a lot more. I mean, it sounds stupid to state the obvious, but we are going to see a lot more crime on our streets, and they are warning that this situation is going to get worse.
Yeah, a real shocker, that. I mean, well, yeah, but it absolutely is stating the obvious.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the government
the government did acknowledge, to be fair to Shabana Mahmood, that there are risks in releasing people earlier, but that's got to be weighed against the risk of having a prison service which, I would describe as, pretty much in meltdown at the moment, not in every prison, but in lots of prisons, a situation that really would be just the collapse of so many of these prisons in their ability to effectively run the incarceration of individuals there. So you weigh them up. But the fact is, as the policing will point out, the recidivism rate, so the reoffending rate, is so high, the majority of those who are released go on to reoffend within a year or so of being released. So, of course, those being released are going to go back into the perpetual cycle of going out and, especially if they're on, substance abusers who are addicted to Class A drugs, they are shoplifting, they are burgling houses, stealing cars, mobile phones, all to feed a habit. It's a horrible, vicious cycle that just continues, and you add to that by turfing even more of them out onto the street at a time, I should add, when it's not just about them reoffending per se, but they are going back to the probation service and all of the wraparound services that are also in a state of absolute meltdown, that don't have enough in the way of staff to properly monitor these people back out in the community. It's a mess.
And yet we're buying up surplus hotels for illegal migrants to make sure that each and every one has the right provision as guaranteed under law, that there's breakout rooms for them, that there's hot food, that there's a stipend. I mean, it seems that we've gone above and beyond to provide accommodation for illegal migrants, and yet when it comes to dangerous criminals, that's where we've dropped the ball.
Well, there is absolutely a point there, you're right, in the huge resources that we plough in to housing the likes of those who come across the Channel or others that claim asylum and have to be housed by the state and, again, get all the wraparound services. But there's another issue here, and that is, of the 1,000 that have crossed the English Channel in the last 24 hours, a proportion of those will go on to commit criminal offences in this country. So they are all adding to the strain on the criminal justice system, which is already, as I say, in a really, really difficult place at the moment. All being added to in, you know, what is just this absolute, you know, vicious cycle of offending, reoffending, people coming over and adding to the burden that the criminal justice system has to cope with.
Mark White for now, thank you very much. And if you are just joining us, we're bringing you the breaking news that Algerian immigration offender Brahim Kader Sharif, who was released from HM3 Wandsworth in southwest London 6 days ago, has been rearrested in North London today and is now in custody. We will be bringing you any more information we have on that breaking story.
Absolutely. But let's speak now to the former Detective Chief Superintendent of the Met Police, Kevin Hurley. Kevin, a lot of people will have been expecting this recapture, but frankly, what a farce that it has taken the best part of a week, where this person hasn't even left London. And now, finally, thanks to a tip-off from the public, we get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mark Stone has probably given the best exposition of the problem I've heard from any journalist on just why we've got a problem. Because right across the piece, everything is broken. I mean, it's not actually a farce that this guy has not been caught, because in the end, there are literally hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of wanted offenders out there at this moment. And it's fortunate that the police have taken this step to circulate his picture, and a member of the public has spotted them, and the police have reacted to it quite promptly. But I mean, the bottom line is, as Mark has just said, the whole criminal justice system has been so slashed and cut back over the last 14 years of the previous government that every single section is not delivering what we want for public safety. And for the last year or so, the Labour government, of course, continually keep talking about 14 years of Tory mismanagement, which is correct. They have not acted decisively and made a move on that. Now, of course, they are short of money. We all know that. So there comes a time when you say, we need to put more money into the police, we need to put more money into probation, we need to put more money into drug rehabilitation, we need to put more money into youth diversion, we need to put more money into the courts and the prosecution system, or accept that this is going to go in or day out, because David Lammy can have as many inquiries as he like, led by an eminent former senior police officer, but it's not going to change the fact that the prisons are now full of very, very young, very inexperienced staff who are poorly supervised. People in prisons have got years to work out their manipulative ways forward, and putting young people in to be prison officers without older ones counselling them is a recipe for disaster. Just the same as it is having young, inexperienced police officers on our streets in the numbers we see. There are no older, wiser heads in the police on the streets. You know, if we look at the issue of why that chap up in Peterborough was able, as we now discover, allegedly allegedly, to commit so many offences, I kind of ask myself, why is it someone gets slashed across the face where there's loads of CCTV and Cambridgeshire police do nothing about it? Why is it a day or so later, a person with a knife of similar description is threatening people in Peterborough and nothing's being done about it? I mean, Peterborough is not Peckham, it's not Brixton, you know, it's not Shepherd's Bush. It's a smaller town where people know pretty much.
Kevin, just because this is an active case, let's just park that conversation for a second. But do stay with us. I want to show you a tweet from the Metropolitan Police that has just come out saying what has just happened. This breaking news: officers have arrested Brahim Kador Sharif, who was released in error from HMP Wandsworth on the 29th of October. Sharif was spotted by a member of the public in Black Horse Lane, Islington, just before 11:30 a.m. Officers responded immediately and he was arrested. So, Kevin, this only happened at 11:30 this morning. Clearly some identification has occurred. The police seem to have operated fairly quickly in response to a public tip-off.
Which is excellent. I mean, the police have done extremely well on this. And one thing I will say about the Metropolitan Police, but then having spent the best part of 30 years in London, I would say, wouldn't I? When there's something serious that catches the public eye, the response is always excellent. And this shows you the importance of the public being kept abreast of this. But I can tell you this, when I was head of volume crime for the Metropolitan Police, I had a list of literally hundreds of people who were wanted on warrants for fingerprints and so on in multiple different areas of London. And of course, the police are unable to put all their pictures out there for whatever reason. Personally, I think there's real learning here, which is use the public. Let's, in every area, put up lists of who's wanted by the police, providing it doesn't affect the evidential chain, but put them up so that the public know they're being looked for. Because the proof is in the pudding in both these recent events, that if the public get behind this, they will produce the goods. And there are evidential reasons why, in some cases, you can't say that. But there are, I know for a fact at this moment in London, there will be hundreds of people whose fingerprints show they're wanted for serious offences, where police could put pictures up saying, this person is wanted for that offence. And it's almost like a case of, let's return to the days of Crime Watch or Police 5. In fact, maybe GBNews might want to come up with a programme like that. And if you wish, I suggest myself or Peter Blexley as the host.
Well, Kevin, I think that would be immensely popular. Thank you indeed for your analysis and indeed that suggestion. Kevin Hurley, former Detective Chief Superintendent at the Met.
Just have a quick recap of the live breaking news for you. Algerian immigrant, sex offender, Brahim Kador Sharif, who was released from HMP Wandsworth in southwest London 6 days ago by mistake, has been arrested and is now safely secure in custody.
Well, do stay with us. Much more to come after the European weather.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled weekend to come for central parts of the Med, although Spain and Portugal will get away with plenty of sunshine. It's going to be breezy through the Canary Islands as well as Madeira, a few showers here. Less breezy for Portugal and much of Spain, but we continue to see a strong wind through eastern parts of Spain, wrapped around a low that's going to bring some heavy rain to the Balearics, and then as that moves east, it's going to bring further wet weather to Italy as well as Greece during Sunday and into the start of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. If you're confused about what's coming up in the budget, Tom has a brilliant explainer for you, including stick people. You have been warned. Here he is.
Well, there's rumours that it's the battle of the Bobs. Rachel Reeves and Lucy Powell at loggerheads over income tax rises. But what are these tax rises? Well, it's proposed that income tax will go up by 2%, and that could raise £15 billion. That's a huge amount of money. But Rachel Reeves is suggesting that it will be offset by national insurance being cut. Yes, she raised it last year. She's going to cut it this year by 2%. And that would cost £9 billion to the Treasury. So that's a net £6 billion raised. But who's going to pay for it? Who's going to make out the net? It's pensioners, it's landlords, and it's anyone earning over 50k.
Time's up. Thank you very much, Tom. OK, stay with us. More on the migrant sex offender rearrested after the break. First, the weather,
though. Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's mild again out there today, not quite as mild as yesterday. A grey day for many, some sunshine across parts of northern Scotland in particular, and there's some rain around too, courtesy of this low pressure sitting out to the west and these weather fronts gradually working their way northwards, also bringing the air up from the south, which is why it's so mild. Rain then lingering across parts of southwest Wales, southwest England, some heavy bursts mixed in here. Could be some heavier showers moving ahead of it across England and Wales too, turning wet for Northern Ireland. Much of Scotland dry, some sunny spells across the far north after a misty, murky start. Many places turning a bit brighter, but generally staying quite cloudy and staying mild. Temperatures 15-16 degrees. The wind's generally quite light, but a brisk wind blowing with this rain into the southwest. The winds, though, light across northern Scotland. As I said, some fine weather across the far north. We'll have some clearer skies here into the evening, but staying fairly damp across Northern Ireland. Midlands. There'll be outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the evening rush hour, as there will be across much of Wales. Pembrokeshire, Devon and Cornwall should be turning drier through this evening as that zone of wet weather works its way up across Hampshire and in towards the Midlands. Again, nothing too heavy, but damp and drizzly conditions here. That all tends to edge a bit further north through the night. So if you're heading out this evening, be prepared for some rain and drizzle, but as I said, nothing too heavy. Wales and southwest England turns drier and clearer, and as a result, could turn a bit chillier for sure. Temperatures down to single figures, and also some mist and fog is likely to form in a few places. On to Saturday, overall a much brighter day. Many of us will see some sunshine, but it will be quite a drab start across eastern counties of England, and some here may stay grey well into the afternoon. Stays a bit damp and drizzly across Shetland too. A few showers for Wales and southwest England possible, but many places dry and brightening up through Saturday with some sunny spells and still quite mild.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Secretary is urging medical professionals to prescribe having a job as a form of treatment for anxiety and depression. West Streeting wants employment to be seen as being just as vital to health as diet and exercise. His comments come as the latest figures reveal there are more than 2.8 million people of working age who are economically inactive in the UK because of long-term sickness. Joining me now is a psychotherapist and broadcaster, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, good to see you. What do you make of this story? Prescribing going to work, basically.
In effect, that's what it's doing. And on the whole, I'm fully behind it, because work is a very powerful mood lifter. It works on 3 levels, really. It gives you a sense of structure. It gives you somewhere that you have to go and to be there at certain times, maybe fulfill certain deadlines. It also gives you a sense of purpose. And we know from a lot of studies that when you have mental illness, and particularly when you have depression or anxiety, that sense of helplessness, worthlessness can be very debilitating, and it can send you on a downward spiral, make it very hard for you to get well. And yet if you have work, if you have a sense of purpose, if you have a mission, if you like, if you have goals, if you get improvements in your work and you get promoted, all of those things can be very beneficial. And the third thing, of course, is that in the workplace, we form human connections. We are very relational creatures, human beings. We come into this world physically joined to another person, and that is our template. We are longing for connection.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Friday, the 7th of November.
I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, breaking news in the last hour. The manhunt is finally over. The Algerian sex offender who was wrongly freed from Wandsworth Prison has been recaptured in Islington.
Chaotic scenes on the street in Islington as police catch up with this individual after a tip-off.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Leader, Lucy Powell, says the party must stick to its manifesto pledge not to raise income tax, putting pressure on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who hasn't ruled it out. With differences emerging on tax and welfare, is Sir Keir Starmer's party as united as it seems?
Elsewhere, aside from the Labour Party, pressure piling on the BBC. Boris Johnson says the Director-General Tim Davie must explain or resign amid explosive claims of bias from the corporation. From Trump to transgender issues, are licence fee payers being misled? It all comes as the BBC rebuked newsreader Martine Croxall for this.
Aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
And meanwhile, calls are growing for a grooming inquiry in Scotland as GB News reveals shocking allegations. Police Scotland turned a blind eye to an abuse network operating in Glasgow.
Now, pride in Britain plunges across Sir Keir Starmer's divided kingdom. A new poll paints a grim picture of falling patriotism, rising division and growing nostalgia for the Britain we used to know. We'll debate if the nation is truly divided.
And the world's richest man could soon make history. Elon Musk set to become the first ever trillionaire after Tesla shareholders hand him a deal like no other.
Well, it's the biggest story in town. It's been dogging the government for days, but finally, the illegal migrant wrongly released from Wandsworth Prison has been recaptured.
Yeah, that's right. Brahim Kadur Sharif, the 24-year-old Algerian national, was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth, if you remember, on the 29th of October as a sex offender. Remember, let's not forget that. He has been apprehended in London, so he didn't actually go far. That is the main story. That's the breaking news this hour. We'll be bringing you all the details on that one. But all of that after the news bulletins with Sophia Hill. Dawn, thank you. Very good afternoon. It's just gone 1 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Well, we start with that breaking news that the migrant sex offender who was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth has now been rearrested in Islington in North London. 24-year-old Algerian national Brahim Kadur Sharif had been convicted in November 2024 of indecent exposure relating to an incident in March that year. The Met Police say that Sharif was spotted by a member of the public in Black Horse Lane in Islington just before 11:30 today. Officers responded immediately and he was arrested. Elsewhere, Julia Vandelt, the woman who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, has been found guilty at Leicester Crown Court of harassing Kate and Jerry McCann. The 24-year-old Polish woman turned up at the home of Madeleine McCann's parents and was sending them sinister letters and messages repeatedly begging for a DNA test. A 5-week trial at Leicester Crown Court heard Vandelt claim to have memories induced by hypnosis sessions of being abducted and of living with the McCanns as a child, including feeding Madeleine's younger brother Sean and playing Ring a Ring of Roses. The 24-year-old now faces deportation back to Poland. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour over whether to raise taxes ahead of the budget later this month. Deputy Leader Lucy Powell has warned that breaking Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT could damage trust in politics. Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director-General Tim Davie to address the left-wing bias at the broadcaster or to resign. The former Prime Minister says that the BBC has been, quote, caught red-handed following the Telegraph's report accusing the broadcaster of one-sided Gaza coverage, censoring trans debates and editing Donald Trump's 2021 Capitol speech. The newspaper also revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from former BBC Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who says that he is in despair over executives ignoring widespread evidence of bias. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Contino echoed Johnson's calls for Davie to explain.
If it's true on the equality side, for example, that they've got people screening the news, only putting forward one side of the gender ideology debate, then of course that is really worrying. So I think we need to establish the facts, and Tim Davies, as the Director General, needs to set out what he's going to do to fix the problem if they can show there is one.
Elsewhere, small boat crossings have surged again. GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours. After the arrival of more than 600 on Thursday, a further 400 have either already crossed or are currently heading towards UK waters. The arrivals are the first migrant boats to cross for a fortnight after bad weather prevented people smuggling operations in the Channel.
Now, Elon Musk could be on track for a $1 trillion pay package, but only if Tesla meets a series of very ambitious targets over the next 10 years. It comes as shareholders approved the £760 billion deal, with 75% of votes in favour and huge applause from the audience at the firm's annual general meeting yesterday. Mr Musk, who is already the world's richest man, will need to deliver 20 million Tesla vehicles over the next decade. He would also need to get 1 million self-driving robo-taxi vehicles into commercial operation. And the Prince of Wales will end his first trip to Brazil by meeting Indigenous people to hear about the role that they play in protecting critical ecosystems. Prince William has spent the last few days in South America to stage his Earthshot Prize in Rio de Janeiro, and also gave a landmark speech at the COP30 UN Climate Change Summit in Belém. William told delegates, including Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, where Indigenous people and local communities have secured lands, rights, deforestation is lower, biodiversity is richer, and carbon is better stored. He urged for unity and urgent action, with emphasis on the rights and voices of Indigenous people in South America to ensure that their communities are recognised as global climate leaders. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'll be back in just under half an hour. But before I go, let's quickly check in on the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.312 and €1.135. The price of gold is £3,051.44 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 9,675 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 7 minutes past 1. And to remind you of that breaking news, breaking just in the last hour or so, the Metropolitan Police have confirmed that the migrant sex offender, Brahim Kadour Sharif, has been rearrested after being accidentally released from prison.
Yes, GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White has all the details for us. Mark.
Well, very dramatic scenes in Islington and North London where this arrest took place. We can show you some images, actually, that our colleagues at Sky News filmed as this individual was being arrested by police in Black Horse Lane in Islington. He was, you can see the images now.
If anything happen, yo, if anything happen, protection.
So Brahim Kadour Sharif now back in police custody. It was really interesting, the arrest process, with officers gathered round him. They detained this man, trying to establish whether he was the fugitive at large. He appeared to be denying that he was Kadour Sharif. Yeah, indeed. But then the police, I think, were on social media comparing his face with the images that were released of this fugitive, and said to him at one point, "You've got a very distinctive nose." So clearly they were convinced it was him, and it's been confirmed. We've just had this statement now through from the Metropolitan Police. They said Brahim Kadour Sharif has been arrested at 11:23, 23 minutes past 11 on Friday. A call was received from a member of the public reporting a sighting of a man they believe to be Sharif in the vicinity of Capital City College on Blackstock Road in Islington. Sharif was released in error on Wednesday, the 29th of October. The Met was informed on the afternoon of Tuesday, the 4th of November, of course, as we know, an operation was launched which involved significant resources, including local officers and also officers from the Met Specialist Crime Command. Now, it says officers responded immediately to the reported sighting, and at 11:30 this morning they detained a man matching Sharif's description. His identity was confirmed, as we say, by looking at social media and saying he had a distinctive nose. He was arrested for being unlawfully at large. He was also arrested on suspicion of assaulting an emergency worker in relation to a previous incident that we didn't know about. He's been taken into police custody initially. The prison service has been informed about this. So he'll be questioned initially by those Metropolitan Police, and then in due course will be handed either to Wandsworth or perhaps go straight to immigration removal, because there is now an expedited process underway to just get him out of the country. The most relieved man in the country at the moment has got to be the Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary David Lammy, who's been quick to put out a statement. Funny that we didn't get as quick a response on Wednesday at PMQs. He has now said, "I can confirm Brahim Kadur Sharif has been recaptured and is back in custody. My thanks are with the police and staff at HMPPS who have been working around the clock. We inherited a prison system in crisis, and I'm appalled at the rate of releases in error this is causing. I'm determined to grip this problem," he says, "but there is a mountain to climb which cannot be done overnight." And he finishes by saying, "That's why I've ordered new tough release checks, commissioned an independent investigation into systemic failures, and begun overhauling archaic paper-based systems still used in prisons, in some prisons."
It's quite astonishing he gets that statement out so fast, but ignoring the fact that the number of prisoners accidentally released have soared under the Labour government. I know he blames the Conservative government, but they've soared under the Labour government.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is an issue that has really exacerbated, has been exacerbated by, I think, some of the policies introduced by the Labour government, according to those I speak to within the prison service, in particular that early release programme introduced by Shabana Mahmood, where prisoners would be released 40% of the way through their jail term rather than at the halfway point to relieve the prison overcrowding. But that's meant this almighty churn of people having to be released, and of course you've always got people coming in and out of remand prisons in particular. It's a real old mess.
Now, of course, Brahim Kadur Sharif was an illegal migrant.
He was
a visa overstayer. Is an illegal migrant, is still in the country, a visa overstayer. But Mark, you've also got news today about the other form of illegal migration, the number of people coming across the Channel in small boats, and there's a new significant number.
Yeah, a very significant number surging across the Channel today, and this channel will keep across of movements in the Channel whenever there is movements. We've had 2 weeks of nothing because of bad weather, but now they're crossing. You can see the very latest images from Dover this morning of small boat migrants who have made that illegal journey across the Channel, been picked up by Border Force and are arriving here. Within the last hour, we've had 2 boatloads, one with 75 on board, another with 74 on board. Despite the conditions that you can clearly see there, misty, murky conditions with winds still blowing in the Channel, but blowing in the direction that's actually pushing these small boats towards the UK. Yesterday, we had more than 600 crossed the Channel. The official figures aren't yet out, but our producer is down there always for us and counts the numbers. So the provisional figure we can give you was more than 600 for yesterday. Another 200 crossed in the early hours of this morning, taking us to 800. And as we speak, these boats are coming in now with that 74 and 75. So already more than 150 have landed in Dover. 50 more, we're at 1,000. Well, a Border Force vessel has currently just picked up one migrant boatload, and it's about to pick up another migrant boatload. So we're well over 1,000 in a 24-hour period, despite being told by ministers that they are clearly gripping the situation, as we haven't had any crossings for 2 weeks.
Nothing to do with the weather at all. Mark White, thank you very much for that news. And of course, we don't know who these people are. No. How many more sex offenders are amongst these ones? OK, we have...
Statistically not zero, is it?
No, you wouldn't be holding your breath, would you? OK, now let's speak to former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley about the breaking news today. Peter, we have got one migrant sex offender off the streets, rearrested, which is good news. But where does that leave us with the others that are still out there?
Goodness only knows. Figures today have been released, saying that another 90 have been released in the last 2 or 3 months inadvertently. And it's an absolute shambles. Sadly, this once great nation is now a laughingstock around the globe. And, of course, it was a member of the public that came to the rescue of the criminal justice system today, because it was that person who made the phone call to the police. In fact, one of Mark White's former colleagues was about the best informed person in the land, because he was there. He knew where this fugitive was and was there. The police, for all their huge investigation and specialist detectives, manifestly did not find him. A member of the public did. And so this farcical nation lunges from crisis to crisis.
And yet it was strange. This individual, when he was arrested, gave a different name, almost a bit cocksure of himself, sort of thinking that he could blend in, perhaps even sort of question the police's own conviction in saying, you look like this person whose face is all over the media, who the public is looking for. I mean, incredibly cocksure of himself, that he was able to walk around, not attempting to cover his face, just walking in public. I mean, this didn't look like a man who was particularly trying to hide, just giving a false name and hoping that would do.
Yes, so how many others? But your question also begs the question, where's he been sleeping? Who's been helping him? Who's been feeding him? Who's been looking after him? Who's been hiding him from the authorities? Will there be a police investigation into that? Or will they just say, OK, we can all wipe our brows now, the man's in custody, let's all forget about it? I suspect it will be the latter, because policing these days runs around sticking plasters on open wounds and very rarely gets a grip of an entire situation.
Interestingly, the other thing when he was arrested, Peter, Kadir Sharif said, it's not my fault. This is what he was shouting at police officers and passers-by. It's not my fault. And to be fair, he has a point. He didn't go on the run. He was let go.
I have no sympathy on that front. It was certainly his fault that he indecently exposed himself to someone.
Of course, no, I'm not defending him, but he was let go by the prison authorities.
Yeah, well, you know, so where's Lord Timpson, the prisons minister? He's been largely absent during this entire crisis. Maybe he's too busy cutting keys and resoling shoes than looking after the dreadful state of our prisons. It's absolutely appalling. Everything is a shambles. Another 1,000 people coming in on small boats, as you alluded to, Dawn. How many sex offenders among their number? Or how many will go on to create more victims in the UK because they can't control their urges? And so this farcical position just carries on and on and on. Meanwhile, our streets become more unsafe, we create more victims of crime, and people in other countries shake their heads and say, what the heck is going on in Great Britain?
I mean, it is extraordinary that we sort of invite this upon ourselves. And I do understand the point that you raised where he's saying, look, I didn't escape from prison.
No, he didn't. He was let go.
But he did then remain on the run.
He did.
And I mean, there was a window, perhaps, of an hour or two where he could have handed himself back in and he could have come out of this no worse off. But my goodness me, Peter, now that he had been on the run for day after day after day, that he attempted to, at least in my view, resist arrest by giving a false name, that he was trying to obfuscate that process, that's going to be a black mark from him as he re-enters the criminal justice system.
He's absolutely revolting, and I sincerely hope that by the close of play today, he's on an aeroplane being taken back to Algeria, never to darken our doorstep again.
Peter, what do you think the chances of that actually happening are?
Well, there's going to be a lot of pressure on David Lammy, on Shabina Mahmood, so I think they'll probably move as swiftly as they can, like they did with Kabatu, to get rid of him. I strongly suspect he'll be gone within hours, if not a day or two.
Yeah, with £500 of taxpayers' money, possibly.
Don't get me started on that front once again. Just what a laughingstock this once great, proud nation that saved the world from the Nazis has now become an absolute shambles of its former glory. And what kind of people, when you look at the footage of that man's capture, these are the people we're having in our country. Are they really the kind of dirt we want on our streets? No, they most definitely are not.
Peter, your Second World War allusion just reminded me of a famous quote from a very, very great lady who said, "I can't bear Britain in decline. I just can't. We who either rescued or saved half Europe, who kept half Europe free when otherwise it would be in chains." Well, she said that in the middle of the 1970s and went on to turn things around in the subsequent decade. Let's just hope there can be a similar resurgence at some point in this country's future. But for now, Peter Blexley, thank you indeed for joining us on this breaking news.
You know what's really interesting, Tom, is the confidence that he had to say, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and the confidence to walk around the streets like he was doing without even covering his face. Just goes to show, as Peter was alluding to, how little respect not just the criminals, but potentially other countries have with regards to the criminal justice system in this country. Outrageous.
Well, after all of that, I think we need a bit of respite. And indeed, it's never too early to think about the festive season. Yes, how would you like your Christmas on us? Yes, on GB News this year. Here's all the details to be a festive winner.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. That'll be a smashing Christmas with you, and I think we're all going to deserve it. This is Good Afternoon Britain. On GB News, there's lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, Pride in Britain plunges across Sir Keir Starmer's divided kingdom. A new poll shows falling patriotism and rising division. We'll ask, is Britain losing its sense of unity? But after the break...
Yeah, demands for a grooming inquiry in Scotland after GB News uncovers allegations that Police Scotland ignored an abuse network in Glasgow.
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past 1. Now, Police Scotland failed to investigate a grooming abuse gang in Glasgow that targeted vulnerable girls in care. GB News can reveal.
Yeah, one of the gang's alleged victims has spoken exclusively to our national reporter, Charlie Peters, about her experience amid growing calls for an inquiry into grooming gangs in Scotland.
You would go there and you would be intoxicated, and sometimes you wouldn't even really be aware of what was going on around about you. And yes, some instances you'd be sexually abused.
Taylor, a victim of grooming gangs in Scotland, is speaking out for the first time.
There was times where I would wake up and I had no recollection of the night before. No recollection whatsoever.
Abused with her friend by Pakistani men in Glasgow, Taylor went missing from her care home countless times.
At the time we were just young and we didn't really understand much what was going on, and it wasn't until we would actually get a bit older we realised this is actually wrong.
GB News has reviewed Taylor's social care records, which contain several key indicators of her being groomed, such as being in the company of older men and returning to the unit intoxicated.
It was quite sickening because I always believed I was in a place that I was cared about, and to actually find out that they actually had an incline that stuff like this was going on, and that's the bit that gets me the most, because this could have been stopped and it never.
Taylor's records reveal that at one point her name appeared in a CSE investigation and that the police visited her unit, but they failed to properly investigate.
No police officer ever asked to speak to me regarding the sex exploitation claim that they came to the unit with. I wasn't aware that anybody had even visited.
Taylor's testimony comes as debate swirls in Scottish politics around an inquiry into grooming gangs in the country. The Conservatives put forward an amendment that would have required research into group-based child sexual exploitation, but it was voted down by the SNP and the Greens. The Scottish Justice Secretary Angela Constance argued that there were no current police investigations into grooming gangs similar to the pattern exposed in many towns in England, where predominantly Pakistani men have targeted vulnerable white children.
What do you feel like when you hear that?
Well, I felt sick to my stomach because it does happen in Scotland, and I've been there and I've lived it. And if it's happened all these years ago, I can guarantee it's still happening now.
Labour MP Joni Reid has accused the SNP of belonging to an establishment cover-up by resisting further investigation.
Young women and girls are being sexually exploited in Scotland just as they are in England and Wales. The suggestion that it stops at the border is irresponsible and frankly offensive.
Angela Constance said that a strategic group the government had set up would be best placed to examine the issue. But data released from Freedom of Information requests have shown that Police Scotland has no markers for group or gang-based abuse. So if the Scottish authorities cannot even identify grooming gang patterns, how can it tackle them?
We don't know whether it's a problem or not yet, so they're refusing to look into an issue which their own group has told them that they don't have sufficient data on. Can you just do a rapid case review, just look at the data and get some independent experts in to try and understand the extent of the problem, and then we can decide whether we need a national inquiry.
What I want to see happen is changes made. That is all I want. I just want to see this never happen to anyone else again, and that is all I want.
But until a proper investigation is launched in Scotland, many fear that Taylor will not get what she wants. Charlie Peters, GB News, Glasgow.
Well, a big thank you to Charlie for his continued hard work on this super important topic.
Yeah, Charlie's done so much amazing stuff on this now. A Scottish Government spokesman had said, "We fully recognise the devastating impact such abuse has on victims and their families. That is why we formed the Expert National Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Strategic Group, which brings together key services and expert stakeholders, including Police Scotland and Professor Alexis Jay, to inform and improve our collective response to this horrendous form of abuse."
Now, Detective Superintendent Nicky McGovern said, "Officers from our National Child Abuse Investigation Unit work tirelessly to prevent children becoming victims, and we use all means at our disposal to track down offenders and ensure they're brought to justice. Following Baroness Casey's report and recommendations, we are committed to identifying any areas for improvement or further learning. We also work closely with policing colleagues across the UK, sharing best practice and learning to tackle all forms of criminal exploitation."
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. But first, it's time for your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon. These are the top stories just after 1:30. The migrant sex offender who was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth has been rearrested in Islington in North London. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour ahead of the budget later this month. Boris Johnson has called on the BBC Director General Tim Davie to, quote, explain or resign over the bias scandal engulfing the broadcaster. He says the BBC is being caught red-handed and demanded the Director General addresses the left-wing bias. Elsewhere, small boat crossings have surged again. GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours. And the Prince of Wales will end his first trip to Brazil by meeting Indigenous people to hear about the role that they play in protecting critical ecosystems. Those are the news headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Now, there's loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, pride plunges across Sir Keir Starmer's divided kingdom. A new poll shows falling patriotism and rising division. We'll ask, is Britain really losing its sense of unity?
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's mild again out there today, not quite as mild as yesterday. A grey day for many, some sunshine across parts of northern Scotland in particular, and there's some rain around too, courtesy of this low pressure sitting out to the west and these weather fronts gradually working their way northwards, also bringing the air up from the south, which is why it's so mild. Rain then lingering across parts of southwest Wales, southwest England, some heavy bursts mixed in here. Could be some heavier showers moving ahead of it across England and Wales too, turning wet for Northern Ireland. Much of Scotland dry, some sunny spells across the far north after a misty, murky start. Many places turning a bit brighter, but generally staying quite cloudy and staying mild. Temperatures 15-16 degrees. The wind's generally quite light, but a brisk wind blowing with this rain into the southwest. The winds, though, light across northern Scotland. As I said, some fine weather across the far north. We'll have some clearer skies here into the evening, but staying fairly damp across Northern Ireland. Midlands. There'll be outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the evening rush hour, as there will be across much of Wales. Pembrokeshire, Devon and Cornwall should be turning drier through this evening as that zone of wet weather works its way up across Hampshire and in towards the Midlands. Again, nothing too heavy, but damp and drizzly conditions here. That all tends to edge a bit further north through the night. So if you're heading out this evening, be prepared for some rain and drizzle, but as I said, nothing too heavy. Wales and southwest England turns drier and clearer, and as a result, could turn a bit chillier for sure. Temperatures down to single figures, and also some mist and fog is likely to form in a few places. On to Saturday, overall much brighter day. Many of us will see some sunshine, but it will be quite a drab start across eastern counties of England, and some here may stay grey well into the afternoon. Stays a bit damp and drizzly across Shetland too. A few showers for Wales and southwest England possible, but many places dry and brightening up through Saturday with some sunny spells and still quite mild.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A82 is restricted at Speen Bridge due to an incident. Motorists should approach cautiously. The M48 has a weight limit of 7.5 tonnes for heavy goods vehicles from May 27, 2025 until further notice. In Kirklees, the M62 westbound is congested between Junction 24 and Junction 22, with delays easing between 5:15 and 5:30 this evening. And on the trains, London North Western Railway has a reduced service at Rugeley Trent Valley, and the London Overground has no trains running between Richmond and Gunnersbury. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 37 minutes past 1. Now, national pride has fallen to its lowest in years, as less than half of Brits say they're proud of the country.
I can't think why you'd be saying that. In any case, a new poll by King's College London found that nostalgia for the past, even among youngsters, has risen in all age groups. Yeah, even amongst the 16 to 24-year-olds.
Well, the Second World War veteran Alec Penstone says that the UK is worse now than when he fought for it.
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye those rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
Bless him, yeah. So is Britain a divided nation? We're now joined by Associate Editor of the Daily Skeptic, Laurie Westall, and a political commentator, Fahima Mohammed. Thank you both very much for joining us. Let's come to you first, Laurie. Are we a divided country?
Well, I think the stats don't lie, and certainly, I mean, that's a really heartbreaking statement by that 100-year-old veteran this morning. What the sacrifices that he made, that his comrades made, that many of, I know that my ancestors made, were in vain, essentially, looking at the Britain that he sees today. That could be, we don't know precisely what he was referring to, but it could be any number of things. Is it demographic change? Is it the sectarianism we saw Britain really giving into last night in Birmingham, for instance? Is it the grooming gang scandal that's been going on and on and on? But when he says that, I think, you know, this is really a simple question to answer. Is Britain a divided nation? GB News viewers can simply ask themselves, do they feel more cohesive, more safe, more belonging in this society than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 25 years ago? And I think, well, yeah, there speaks the voice of the nation. This World War II veteran says it wasn't worth it.
For him, I suppose it's inarguable. I mean, anyone listening to that would have thought, well, what could he have been referring to? I could give you a list as long as my arm, whether it's cultural or economic or social. I mean, Britain, when we fought the Second World War, we were the country that the word superpower was invented for. I mean, Britain ruled over a quarter of the Earth's surface. Britain was one of the richest countries in the world. Now we barely make the top 20.
Well, it's really interesting how
Sorry, let's put that to Fahima.
It was...
I think it's really interesting how you frame that, because when we look at England in its past centuries overtaking the entire world, it wasn't done because it was, welcoming to all the other countries. It actually invaded, and there's consequences that are still happening up till now, whether it's trauma or even wars that are still continuous. And there were also veterans that fought in the Second World War who were non-English, non-white. We cannot forget that. So demographic change is not about the fact that we're looking at it from one point. And I just believe that we're a nation that's having loud conversations, and that's democracy working. No country with a healthy democracy is ever completely unified. Democracy institutionalized disagreement. The point isn't for everyone to think the same, look the same, and be the same. It's for everyone to have a voice without a country breaking. And I don't think that division is necessarily difference is division. I think that if it was divided, then it's falling apart. And democracy is not falling apart, because what we do is that when a divided nation falls apart, democracy falls out and then turns up at the ballot box to sort it out. Yes, people disagree on politics, identity, immigration, and the economy, but those disagreements are not necessarily the same as what we are sort of putting and framing as division, because we actually all show up for the same things of an overwhelming agreement that we want better for our lives and family, better fairness, security, and opportunity. And we turn out in those moments to unite, from national crisis to sporting events to community support. And, we argue passionately because people are engaged, not because we're stopping seeing each other as, fellow citizens. We all just are patriotic in our own ways. I may not have been born here, but I'm a British citizen who is proud, and I respect the laws, and we live cohesively. And that's what it is. If we were truly divided, I think that we still wouldn't be having the same national conversations and sharing the same cultural differences. We're debating.
Fahima, let's bring Laurie back into this. Laurie, you mentioned the football game last night in Birmingham. Would you say that was an example of the positive division that Fahima is talking about?
Yeah, well, quite right. It's a very good point, Dawn. And Tom, I know you're a big fan of Lee Kuan Yew. One of his famous sayings was that in an ethically mixed society, all politics actually just devolves into ethnic loyalties. And while, Fahima, you mentioned that, there are differences of opinion, actually those Muslim sectarian MPs in and around Birmingham are not really campaigning on things like the tax rate or things even like the bin situation. They're campaigning exclusively on an ethnic conflict that is going on in the Middle East, which they are very interested in, but they have siloed themselves off from the rest of mainstream society. And as to this question of that football match, I mean, these were frankly disgraceful scenes. The British state had to bend the knee to sectarianism to say that a certain group of fans were not allowed to come to a British city in 2025 because essentially there's an enormous amount of anti-Semitism there, which we know.
Now, for those who don't know, Lee Kuan Yew was the sort of godfather of Singapore, the first president of the country. It's an incredibly ethnic diverse country, but in order to make that ethnic diversity work, he had to have a pretty heavy-handed government, pretty heavy-handed intervention. Fahima, can multiculturalism work?
It is working. It has worked. It's just that when we want to report one side and see one side, just because we're seeing that there are pro-Palestinian marches on there, it's not just coming from the Muslims. It's coming from even Jewish organizations. It's coming from Holocaust survivors. And they are actually also those politicians that are talking. We're only highlighting one side. They are talking about the country in itself as well. It's just that we're only saying it one way. And I think it's nothing to do with anti-Semitism, because if that's the case, then we wouldn't ban Russia. We wouldn't ban all the other countries. So I think that we need to be fair in our assessment and the way in which we're looking at things in a whole spectrum. Multiculturalism has actually had a part in building Britain. Otherwise, even the investments that have been made recently from countries abroad like Saudi Arabia, putting investment here, from Qatar, from so many other Muslim countries.
Fahima, just on that point, do you recognise a difference between multiculturalism, where lots of different individual silos of cultures exist next to each other? Do you recognise a difference between that idea and a multiracial democracy, where there is one overarching culture, one flag, one identity that people feel like they belong to?
I think that when you're talking about maybe countries like that, is probably very authoritarian, and there might be silence, and that's why we have this kind of like statistics and votes, because people are there with differences, and that's what democracy and pluralism is about. And I think that that's what makes this country great, is the fact that we have those differences and those voices, and the fact that we can share them. And like I said, we vote and we put people in, and we are following law and rule of law. So I think if that's the case, then there is no issue there. People can live and and dress and speak differently, but at the same time, we can really coexist. It's only when people feel that that sort of, patriotism has to be only from one group as well, and excluding everyone else like myself, thinking that, if I'm not around, then that makes you British. No, I think Britain is great because it went and invaded the entire world centuries ago, and we have to accept that. But at the same time, people have come here who they've invited to help, whether it was the Second World War, whether recently even the Afghanistan war, and also people that live differently. It's like people saying, if you don't like your neighbour, then do a risk assessment. We don't do that. We don't live like that. We live door to door, helping our neighbours and seeing each other regardless of where they come from. And if people choose to move out of those areas, then that is not integration. That's also moving. Integration works both ways in the fact that we have to accept the differences that are here.
Okay.
That's policy.
Let's just give a quick final word to Laurie.
Well, so, Fahima, you've made the point about overlapping valleys and people agreeing on certain things. But one thing that surely the whole country should be in agreement on is the importance of tackling the grooming gang scandal. And yet we know, as Sir Trevor Phillips, among many others, have said, that Labour at the moment is unwilling to go after this. It's been dragging its feet all year with the national inquiry, and it's indeed allowed it to be to delay it again for another 2 months. And that is because it's unwilling to annoy its Muslim voters, and you have people like Jess Phillips in Birmingham.
That is a whole big debate. We're going to have you back both sometime soon to continue this. I'm afraid we have to get to an advert break now. But Laurie and Fahima, thank you both very much indeed for your time.
Yeah, OK, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, the world's richest man could soon make history. Could Elon Musk be set to become the first ever trillionaire? This after Tesla shareholders hand him a deal like no other.
But first, let's have a look at the European weather for you.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled weekend to come for central parts of the Med, although Spain and Portugal will get away with plenty of sunshine. It's going to be breezy through the Canary Islands as well as Madeira, a few showers here. Less breezy for Portugal and much of Spain, but we continue to see a strong wind through eastern parts of Spain, wrapped around a low that's going to bring some heavy rain to the Balearics, and then as that moves east, it's going to bring further wet weather to Italy as well as Greece during Sunday and into the start of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
They do say, Oggy, that we are what we eat. Just, looking up and down. But anyway, I mean, during your sporting career, when you was a cricketer, you'd have been a lot slimmer, eating different food probably, a different regime. Tell us about that.
To be fair, wasn't eating a lot of different food, but I was active. I went into the gym, I was on a cricket pitch 5 days out, and you burned the food off, so you didn't have to really watch what you ate. And for the last 12 years, I've been putting things in and not burning them off.
OK, yeah, it's time to take that. But you're a Yorkshireman. And you play cricket for Yorkshire. It's a great honour for a Yorkshireman, isn't it, to play cricket for his
Massively,
county?
yeah.
Because back in the day, you had to be born in Yorkshire, didn't you, to actually play for Yorkshire?
Yeah, I was born back in Yorkshire. My mum and dad were in Pelsall. We moved back into Yorkshire, so I was born in the county, so I was allowed to play for it. But I was a late bloomer. 18, I wasn't playing for the academy, and I got a Yorkshire contract late on. And it just went really, really quickly.
So how does it work? A lot of young people playing these sports at school and that, they played probably football, rugby and cricket, weren't they? Is that you?
Yeah, so at school, I went to a comprehensive school. They had a choice of football or football.
Yeah.
Wasn't my favourite sport, but I wanted to play sport, so I played football for school, and then in the winter I played rugby for my local rugby club, and then cricket for my local cricket club in the summer.
So when did it really start for you at cricket then? So when did that penny drop that you wanted to be a cricketer?
A big piece of luck. Phil Carrick came into Pudsey Kongs, who was an ex-Yorkshire captain, saw me playing third team and put me in the first team.
Really?
And so I was 17, 18. he saw something in me. I don't know, because everybody else had overlooked me. I think it's because I swung the ball away.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just coming up to 9 minutes till 2 o'clock. Now, Elon Musk could be on track to make history and become the world's first trillionaire.
Well, there is, however, a catch. Elon will have to achieve a litany of very ambitious targets, including getting 1 million self-driving robo-taxis on the roads.
However, if Musk hits these targets, he'll be rewarded for a £750 billion package. I have no idea what I'm talking about at this stage.
£750 billion is $1 trillion.
Whatever. But it's quite a motivation, I think you'll find there. Yes, OK. Let's discuss this with business and finance broadcaster Michael Wilson. Michael, when it gets above 50 quid, I'm pretty much lost. I'm being honest with you here. Make this story make sense for us.
So it's... If there were $1 bills, the pile would be 650 miles high.
Oh my God!
That's how big it is. I think most people agree that $1 trillion is $1 million, which is actually quite a lot of money. What could you do with?
I think it's 1,000 million in the American context.
Oh well, maybe you're right. You see, I looked up the British one; it had $1 million. But what you could do with that amount of money, for example, is you could cure malaria more or less overnight, and you could get rid of world poverty. But it would be very, very difficult to spend. Somebody has calculated that it also is so much money that you could buy all the available private jets, private yachts, Rolls Royces, and still have a load to spare. So it's a huge amount of money. But as you quite rightly pointed out, it's not all straightforward sailing. He's got 10 years in which to do it, and he's got to grow the company 8 times in that particular time. Yeah. This is a company, and it needs to be said, which has been facing falling sales in Germany quite recently. It's also very dependent upon governments to install electrical points around the country, which we are. I don't think we're doing that well at the moment.
No. Well, Michael, I suppose the issue here is that Tesla is currently worth, I think it's worth around $1 trillion as things stand, and this deal is supposed to get it to grow to 7 or 8 trillion, and Elon Musk will get a slice of that if he does. The crucial thing is, I suppose, this is an incentive for him to not get too involved in politics, to get back to the day job.
Well, politics hasn't really been his forte, has it? But what I think investors are really worried about is this new robot, this thing called Olympus, and it's difficult to know whether he will be able to maintain his concentration on the car business and not get sidetracked by the robot business. That's the difficulty right now. And he wasn't able to change the course of a bureaucratic government, what Michael Gove in this country called the blob. That's something which has defeated most business people entering politics. It doesn't work.
OK, well, Michael Wilson, business and finance broadcaster, thanks indeed for joining us.
OK, loads more coming up on the show, but all of that after the weather. Here's details.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's mild again out there today, not quite as mild as yesterday. A grey day for many, some sunshine across parts of northern Scotland in particular, and there's some rain around too, courtesy of this low pressure sitting out to the west and these weather fronts gradually working their way northwards, also bringing the air up from the south, which is why it's so mild. Rain then lingering across parts of southwest Wales, southwest England, some heavy bursts mixed in here. Could be some heavier showers moving ahead of it across England and Wales too, turning wet for Northern Ireland. Much of Scotland dry, some sunny spells across the far north after a misty, murky start. Many places turning a bit brighter, but generally staying quite cloudy and staying mild. Temperatures 15-16 degrees. The wind's generally quite light, but a brisk wind blowing with this rain into the southwest. The winds, though light across northern Scotland, as I said, some fine weather across the far north. We'll have some clearer skies here into the evening, but staying fairly damp across Northern Ireland. There'll be outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the evening rush hour, as there will be across much of Wales. Pembrokeshire, Devon and Cornwall should be turning drier through this evening as that zone of wet weather works its way up across Hampshire and in towards the Midlands. Again, nothing too heavy, but damp and drizzly conditions here. That all tends to edge a bit further north through the night. So if you're heading out this evening, be prepared for some rain and drizzle, but as I said, nothing too heavy. Wales and southwest England turns drier and clearer, and as a result, it could turn a bit chillier for sure. Temperatures down to single figures, and also some mist and fog is likely to form in a few places. On to Saturday, overall much brighter day. Many of us will see some sunshine, but it will be quite a drab start across eastern counties of England, and some here may stay grey well into the afternoon. Stays a bit damp and drizzly across Shetland too. A few showers for Wales and southwest England possible, but many places dry and brightening up through Saturday with some sunny spells and still quite mild.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello, I'm Paul Patrick Christys here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
News channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Friday, the 7th of November. I'm Dawn Neeson.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Well, breaking news in the last hour, the manhunt's over. The Algerian sex offender, wrongly freed from Wandsworth Prison, has been recaptured in Islington.
Well, police said that Brahim Kadur Sharif was arrested at 11:30 this morning after a tip-off from a member of the public.
Meanwhile, Deputy Leader Lucy Powell says the party must stick to its manifesto pledge not to raise income tax, putting pressure on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who hasn't ruled it out. With differences emerging on tax and welfare, is Sir Keir Starmer's party as united as it seems? We'll be speaking to the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, later.
Why do all senior Labour Party women have the same haircut? Anyway, pressure piling on the BBC. Boris Johnson says that Director General Tim Daly must explain or resign amid explosive claims of bias at the corporation. From Trump to transgender issues, are licence fee payers being misled? This comes as the BBC rebuked newsreader Martine Croxall for this.
Aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
Meanwhile, calls are growing for a grooming inquiry in Scotland as GB News reveals shocking allegations. Police Scotland turned a blind eye to an abuse network operating in Glasgow.
And we can reveal multiple failures by several agencies, including a care home that appears to have censored a reference to Pakistani men.
Elsewhere, the Metropolitan Police branded systemically racist. A new report warns anti-black bias runs deep within the force's structure as calls grow for urgent reform. Well, it's been a busy day of breaking news here on Good Afternoon Britain. But of course, it's not just the numbers coming across over the English Channel, a new 1,000 strong in 24-hour period, but also, of course, finally, the capture of this illegal migrant sex offender on the run.
Yes, the Algerian that should have been sent back 5 years ago, but was released accidentally, was on the run and has been apprehended today and is now safely back in custody. Remember, as a sex offender, he exposed himself to women. So thankfully that is one off the streets, but there are loads more out there, as we know, and as you heard Mark White discuss earlier in the show, there is 1,000 already here over the weekend. Not all sex offenders, obviously, but we don't know who they are or what they're here for, do we?
And that's the biggest concern that people have, that the people that arrive without documentation, without a visa, and Lord knows, we've had a liberal enough legal migration system over the course of the last few years. I mean, who on earth genuinely cannot get through a points-based system? I mean, how untalented do you have to be to legally come to this country under the current rules? Because it seems quite so. So why on earth would you need to illegally enter this country? Just how lousy do you have to be to illegally need to enter this country?
Well, I mean, we let them stay. So who's the lousy ones? That's us, isn't it? I mean, remember, his visa expired 5 years ago. Still here. Well, hopefully not for much longer, though. Any case, all of this to come after the news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Dawn, thank you. Very good afternoon. It's just gone 2 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has thanked police and prison staff after the migrant sex offender who was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth was rearrested in North London. Mr Lammy, who is also the Justice Secretary, says that he is appalled at the rate of releases in error and is determined to get a grip of the problem. 24-year-old Algerian national Brahim Kadur Sharif had been convicted in November 2024 of indecent exposure relating to an incident in March that year. The Met Police say that Sharif was spotted by a member of the public in Islington just before 11:30 today. Officers responded immediately and he was arrested. In a statement, Mr Lammy said, "I have ordered new tough release checks, commissioned an independent investigation into systemic failures and begun overhauling archaic paper-based systems still used in some prisons." In other news, Julia Wandelt, the woman who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, has been found guilty at Leicester Crown Court of harassing Kate and Jerry McCann. The 24-year-old Polish woman turned up at the home of Madeleine McCann's parents after sending them sinister letters and messages repeatedly begging for a DNA test. A 5-week trial at Leicester Crown Court heard that Wandelt claimed to have memories induced by hypnosis sessions of being abducted and of living with the McCanns as a child. The 24-year-old appeared in court with Karen Spragg, who was also sentenced for harassment and stalking, but found not guilty. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of the Labour Party over whether to raise taxes ahead of the budget later this month. Deputy Leader Lucy Powell has warned that breaking Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT could damage trust in politics. Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director-General Tim Davie to address the left-wing bias at the broadcaster or to resign. The former Prime Minister says that the BBC has been caught, quote, red-handed following the Telegraph's report accusing the broadcaster of one-sided Gaza coverage, censoring the trans debate and editing Donald Trump's 2021 Capitol speech. The newspaper also revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from former BBC Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who says that he is in despair over executives ignoring widespread evidence of bias. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho spoke to GB News earlier and echoed Boris Johnson's calls for Davie to explain.
If it's true on the equality side, for example, that they've got people screening the news, only putting forward one side of the gender ideology debate, then of course that is really worrying. So I think we need to establish the facts, and Tim Davies, as the Director General, needs to set out what he's going to do to fix the problem if they can show there is one.
Elsewhere, small boat crossings have surged again. GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours. After the arrival of more than 600 on Thursday, a further 400 have either already crossed or are currently heading towards UK waters. The arrivals are the first migrant boats to cross for a fortnight after bad weather prevented people smuggling operations in the Channel. And 2 people have been arrested after an XL bully killed a 9-month-old baby boy in South Wales. The pair were arrested on suspicion of being in charge of a dog dangerously out of control, causing injury resulting in death, as well as on suspicion of child neglect after the incident on the 2nd of November. The force previously confirmed that the 6-year-old dog was registered as an XL bully with the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs before the ban came into effect. And a British man who dreamt about being like James Bond and volunteered to spy for Russia has been jailed for 7 years. 66-year-old Howard Phillip from Essex intended to help 2 undercover officers posing as Russian agents, including giving personal information about Grant Shapps. A jury found Phillips guilty of assisting a foreign intelligence service under the National Security Act. Sentencing him at Winchester Crown Court, the judge told him, "You were prepared to betray your country for money. I sentence you on the basis you are not ideologically driven, but motivated by money." Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour, but now it's time to check in on the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets this afternoon. The pound will buy you $1.312 and €1.134. The price of gold is £3,046.85 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 9,658 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2. Now, breaking news from the last 2 hours all across this programme. The Metropolitan Police have confirmed, of course, the migrant sex offender Brahim Kaddour Sharif has been rearrested after being accidentally released from prison.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White now joins us with the updated story. Mark.
Well, the Metropolitan Police confirmed that they received a call about 11:23 this morning from a member of the public suggesting that this fugitive was in this area of Islington, Black Horse Lane. They responded quickly and made the arrest by 11:30. We just want to show you some images that our colleagues at Sky News captured of that moment of arrest.
It's threatening, if anything happen, yo. If threatening, if anything happen, protection.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting sight, it seems, as they made the arrest, because the officers concerned were trying to identify this individual, who apparently was giving him a different name and denying that he was indeed Brahim Kadur Sharif. The officers, I think, were on Instagram or something similar, comparing his photograph, and said to him that he had a rather distinctive nose.
I think the word wonky was used at one point.
Something like that. So clearly they have got their man. He is in custody, police custody initially, because he'll be questioned about where he was over more than a week now, before then either being taken back to the prison service, or it's possible he may even go to immigration removals, an immigration removal centre. He was in Colnbrook near Heathrow Airport before, as they were attempting to get him removed back to Algeria, but of course then there were some pending court cases. It might be decided, as it was with Hadoush Kabatu, just to get him out of the country. It's worth saying as well that Hadoush Kabatu was arrested very close to the spot where this young man was detained this morning as well. Seems to be a popular part of London for fugitives.
That's a really interesting point to pick up on. Mark, do stay with us. Let's bring into this conversation now retired Scotland Yard Detective Mike Neville. Mike, I'm hearing two different arguments here in terms of how the police have done. Number one, that they were quite professional and you know, they managed to arrest this guy today. But number two, my goodness me, it's been days where this person has been on the run, and it took a member of the public to report him.
Well, just the same as Kabatu, it shows the value of sharing information with the public and the police. And of course, it was 6 or 7 days before the prison service told the police that this man had gone. And so what we see is the value of putting information out and the eyes and ears of the public. The police simply cannot be everywhere. And I think, really, in this circumstance, a couple of days is not bad to find. So London is not just a haystack, it's 1,000 haystacks with one needle in them. And so I picked up as well that he'd been arrested in exactly the same place. But the other thing as well, they were saying, oh, he's legal in the UK. This Kadur Sharif character is a registered sex offender. He's been caught with a knife. You think, what value? He brings no value. All he does is threaten particularly women and girls. What in God's name is he doing in this nation?
Well, he's been an overstayer since 2020. That's when his visa ran out, the Home Office knew, and he was still here, committing further offences.
Agreed, and what it shows to me is there's no will on the part of these politicians to do anything about this. They'll talk and bluster and promise things. And the whole system is a joke. I was speaking to a prison officer, a former retired prison officer. He said this all boils down to when you release somebody, you get told, oh, go and find Mike Neville, and they go up to the wing, oh, where's Mike Neville? Oh, that's me. It could be anybody, you know, and if they don't recognise you. And then, of course, the whole thing stands and falls on, just like you saw with the police there, is it him, is it not? And there's madness.
Yeah, Mike, you bring up this issue of visa overstayer. I mean, Mark, we were talking about this earlier. I mean, the government keeps on using these funny terms, these frankly ridiculous terms, irregular migrant, visa overstayer. Shall we call a spade and just call the guy an illegal migrant?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it is there as a way of sanitising what is a big issue for people, and people can see that whether you enter the country in the back of a lorry or in a small boat, as more are doing again today, or you come on a visa with the sole intention of actually just staying and then working and living illegally in this country, you are an illegal immigrant. He is an illegal immigrant because he has as yet not been removed from the country. But of course the Home Office knew this 5 years ago, and so far at least have not removed him from the UK.
Mike, coming back to you on this one, I mean, the pressure is on David Lammy now. Obviously, 90 violent criminals have been released by mistake during the time Labour have been in power. Would it be helpful if there was some kind of central list that these people were listed? We had pictures of them. As we know, with the 2 recent cases, there's members of the public that have identified these people, but there doesn't seem to be a central list of, oh, that person's on the run, I'm sure they were in my local shop.
So one of the my expertise is catching people with images, and there's national databases for fingerprints and DNA. There is no national database for images. So if you, like we saw with the wicked stabbings on the train in Cambridgeshire, they have linked crimes together in Cambridge and in London, but they would never have been linked together if the horrendous crime hadn't happened.
Ah, but that's for the police. So the police can link these different...
Yes.
Yeah. Because I suppose that one of the things about the public having access to a database is if there are 3,000... No individual in the public is going to be 3,000 people.
But the police should have a national database. One of the big problems with the Home Office is they measure the use of fingerprints and DNA by the police. They don't measure the use of images, CCTV, and what gets measured gets done, so the police often do not do that. So you have police forces identification rates of 4 and 5%. It's absolute madness, and the police could solve so many more crimes with images.
And yet, Mark, there are civil liberties concerns here. I mean, facial recognition. People don't like the idea that you could be photographed walking down your high street doing your legal business and that go to some central police database.
No, there's a lot of concern about that, but I mean, I would always say to those who are concerned about that, you're being surveilled anyway with CCTV on every corner in every major city in this country anyway. You've been surveilled when you go into a shop with all the security cameras around there, with the electronic interactions that you make now every time you swipe your card. That is where we are. Of course, libertarians do not like that. They don't like their civil liberties being infringed in this way. But the police will always say, if you've got nothing to hide, surely it's better to aid the potential capture of those who may be out to cause us harm.
I mean, what I could say on that, I mean, I agree there's real concerns about facial recognition being on the street, and that should only be used for very serious matters like catching this man. But even speaking to people like Big Brother Watch, when I had the unit at Scotland Yard which contained all the images, they didn't really have a problem with, I've got an image of a robber, a thief, a rapist, and I want to find that person. But the fact that the police don't share those and they don't have a national database means if you travel to 3 different police forces and commit several crimes, even in the same clothes, you probably won't be matched. Whereas if you travel and left your fingerprints and DNA, you would do. And it would be very simple to set this up. And the police could, as Mark was saying, there's CCTV everywhere, yet the police solve what my estimation was, and it was in the papers, 1 crime for every 1,000 CCTV cameras.
It is
truly shocking. So we give up our liberties by being filmed, yet when we get robbed, raped, attacked, whatever on CCTV, the villain doesn't get caught. But if we park our car in the wrong place, it's always on us then. Because what gets measured gets done, and that makes money. Catching thieves.
And that's automatic number plate recognition that can trace you easily. The difficulty with the rest of CCTV is you have to physically get officers trawling through and trying to marry timelines to find suspects.
Because so much
it's very time
digitalised. I mean, so much of this. I mean, I've spoken to some campaigners on this who say that very often when police have to trawl through CCTV, they literally have to watch it on fast forward. Whereas most people watching digital stuff would be able to click through: is the bike here? Is the bike not here? Exactly. You can do that search in a matter of seconds.
That's right.
As opposed to having to sit there for hours and watch it.
And there is software.
But
the police do not use available software, so they're obsessed at the moment with facial recognition, which is good and works. But the Met say, oh, we've had 1,000 arrests. But in the same time as had 1,000 arrests, there was 1.4 million crimes committed. I had the very first conviction for pattern recognition. So where, if you look at Mark's tie, it's a distinctive pattern, or my tie. And what I did, I used the same, it's used for advertising, and I caught a guy in 2 burglaries in the same T-shirt. You couldn't see his face, but you could see his T-shirt. And a lot of these people wear distinctive trainers or logos on the jacket. But the police are still not using that. But it's the Home Office who could force this, and they could solve thousands more crimes, thousands more victims could be satisfied if they used images effectively and caught more criminals with them.
Well, Mark, it's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for your expertise on this issue. I'm sure there will be more that we learn over the course of this afternoon.
And let us know your thoughts as well. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, it's never too early to think about the festive season. And here's how would you like to have your Christmas on us this year? Yes, here's all the details you need to be a festive winner with GB News.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 23 minutes past 2. Now, Police Scotland failed to investigate a grooming abuse gang in Glasgow that targeted vulnerable girls in care. GB News can reveal.
Yes, one of the gang's alleged victims has spoken exclusively to our national reporter, Charlie Peters, about her experience amid growing calls for an inquiry into grooming gangs in Scotland.
Well, our national reporter, Charlie Peters, is with us in the studio. And, Charlie, a pretty shocking report.
Yes, well, Taylor is not her real name. She's spoken out for the first time about her ordeal, discussing what happened to her when she was living in a care home in Glasgow about a decade ago, where she was abused by gangs of men alongside somebody else. Now, while she was being abused, she said she was plied with drink and drugs, and she's recently found more information after conducting a subject access request and reviewing her social care records, which we've also had exclusive sight of. Now, these records show some extraordinary language used by the care home and also some failures, we believe, by Police Scotland. In particular, they refer to her going missing on regular occasions, not having her phone, coming home late at night, being under the influence of drink and drugs. All key warnings and indicators of a girl of that age that there's some possible exploitation. And then we hear about the police visiting the care home because this girl's name had appeared in an investigation into child abuse. However, they did not speak to her. She was never spoken to by Police Scotland. Now, Taylor has also shown us another part of her records that were particularly astonishing. Now, Baroness Casey's review in England and Wales found an example where the word Pakistani had been Tipp-X'd out of a report. I think the same thing has happened here. There is this discussion being written down by a social care worker talking about an instance when the police made a tentative inquiry about potential exploitation. I'd say you'd hope that inquiry would be more than just tentative, wouldn't you? And when describing what happened, they said that Taylor's name had appeared in a group-based sexual exploitation by a group of, and then the next couple of words have been censored, removed, blacked out. Taylor believes, as do I, that those words have been censored because it refers to the ethnicity of the perpetrators involved.
And is this the police censoring that? So, who is doing the censoring here? Who is hiding the ethnicity of the perpetrators?
It's the care authority in this case, we believe, or the care home involved. It's an extraordinary element of censoriousness. Lots of other details have been removed as well, but that's the key part that really jumped out to us when we were reviewing the hundreds of pages involved in this case.
Well, Charlie, do stay with us. We're going to speak now to the Reform UK councillor for Glasgow City Council, Thomas Kerr. Thomas, a lot of people will be thinking grooming gangs, this is an English issue. This is an issue in the English cities, in places like Rotherham, in places like Greater Manchester. But this is happening in Scotland, you believe?
Yeah, look, a lot of people, Tom, have fought for a long time that Scotland was not exempt from these issues. But whenever we raised them, we were called far-right and racist and how we had to dare we speak about these sort of topics. Taylor's came forward with a heartbreaking story. I mean, I watched the report that Charlie done, and it is absolutely heartbreaking to see. To watch someone from my city, the city I'm proud to be a Glaswegian, I love this city like the back of my hand, to see that this has happened in this city under the watch of both Police Scotland and the Care Inspectorate is deeply, deeply scary. So it's something that I think the media thought that it was maybe just an English issue, but I think a lot of people in Scotland did know that this was going on, and the fact it's taken so long for it to come out really does say a lot.
Thomas, I don't want to bring up the situation of the women's rights issue as well, but women and girls in Scotland don't seem to be getting a particularly good time, do they?
No, we currently have a government in Scotland that can't describe what a woman is, so we shouldn't be surprised that this government has tried their hardest to censor young women who are vulnerable, who have been abused in the system. And by the way, this is an issue that's happened under successive parties. This isn't an issue that's just to do with the SNP, Labour, Conservatives. Everybody have been in charge in Scotland. There has been consistent appeals from people to bring this forward. The fact that the Scottish Government were dragging their feet for so long to have a special inquiry says a lot. I am glad that it looks as if they may be moving in that direction. But the fact it's taken people at Taylor to have to come forward for them to even consider it really does show you how desperate this situation is getting in Scotland.
Yes, Thomas, there did seem to be perhaps a softening of the government position in response to our story, now saying that an inquiry is under review. Previously, the First Minister, John Swinney, had said that he wasn't considering it. He didn't believe it was necessary. Now, another thing that we've been discussing in our report is FOI data showing that Police Scotland and the strategic group have no markers or form of recording group-based exploitation. One of the concerns we've heard from Labour MP Joni Reid is that if you can't record this form of abuse, how can you possibly understand the pattern and then properly prosecute it? Do you want Police Scotland to then include group-based abuse as a form of identification when recording crimes?
Yeah, look, the fact that they don't do that is absolutely shocking. And Joni Reid, this is a cross-party issue because Joni Reid has done some fantastic work on this as well. So I think that it has to be something that Police Scotland have to look at, because it's just not on, that this has not been recorded properly. How can you tackle an issue if the police aren't recording it? So it's something that has to be looked at.
OK, and Thomas, when we're reflecting on this more broadly, obviously we have the national inquiry in Westminster looking at the issue in England and Wales. We've been hearing from survivors today getting in touch with us who say that they were trafficked from England up to Glasgow. The Bradford survivor Fiona Goddard speaking to GB News earlier today, saying that she herself was trafficked to Glasgow as well, and that she's spoken about this before. Are you concerned that even though Police Scotland say they're liaising with UK-wide police forces, that this inquiry being launched by Sir Keir Starmer does have a gap at the border and that more work needs to be done?
Yes, absolutely, and that's part of the reason why I think the Scottish Government has to drag into to try and get this inquiry set up in Scotland. But I think that Keir Starmer has to look at the fact that this is a UK-wide issue. This is not ending at the border as soon as you go over Gretna Green. Somehow everything's all sunny and rosy in Glasgow. And hearing the heartbreaking stories from female victims who have been suffered by this is absolutely devastating. I mean, I cannot tell you how heartbreaking it is as a Glaswegian to know that this is taking place in the city that I was born and bred in, that I was brought up in. It's heartbreaking that that's been happening. So Keir Starmer and the Scottish Government have to both get their finger out, frankly, and get action taken, because it doesn't end at the border and these women deserve justice.
Thomas, just one final question for you. Is this still going on? Are there more victims as we speak now?
Genuinely, I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, was this happening in Glasgow at the current moment, I'd have said no, so I have no idea what's happening in the city now. The fact that the Scottish Government hasn't taken action, the fact that whenever politicians do speak about this, we're tarnished with phrases like far right and racist, I think it could be still going on in Glasgow. I think there is a chance it could be. And the fact that the Scottish Government isn't acting quickly enough, we're not going to get to the bottom of it until they do.
Well, it highlights the importance of an inquiry. Thomas Kerr, thanks so much for joining us here. Thank you indeed. Charlie, just one final point to you. I mean, does it look like there will be movement now? I mean, I think a lot of people listening will be frankly surprised that the inquiry is only for England and Wales, not the whole of the UK.
Well, I think the way to see if this discussion expands, if there will be further focus on this issue in Scotland, unfortunately, it's probably only going to come through more journalism, more focus on revealing these failures. Because while there does seem to have been some movement within the Scottish Government, there are still a lot of fears north of the border that perhaps Scotland is going to miss out on this widespread investigation, stopping in England and Wales. I would say to that final point, Thomas Kerr not being sure if it's still going on in Glasgow, Police Scotland themselves have said after the recent conviction of a Romanian grooming gang in Dundee that they very much believe this is still an ongoing problem across the country. So I'm confident this is still a problem there. It's a problem in every town and city, frankly.
Which is shocking, and let's hope that we have an inquiry into what's going on in London as well.
Yeah, well, Charlie Peters, thanks indeed for joining us. We should say a Scottish Government spokesperson has said we fully recognise the devastating impact such abuse has on victims and their families. That's why we formed the expert National Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Strategic Group, which brings together key services and expert stakeholders, including Police Scotland and Professor Alexis Jay, to inform and improve our collective response to this horrendous form of abuse.
Meanwhile, Detective Superintendent Nicky McGovern said officers from our National Child Abuse Investigation Unit work tirelessly to prevent children becoming victims, and we use all means at our disposal to track down offenders and ensure they are being brought to justice. Following Baroness Casey's report and recommendations, we are committed to identifying any areas for improvement or further learning. We also work closely with policing colleagues across the UK, sharing best practice and learning to tackle all forms of criminal exploitation.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come on today's show. Yes, we're going to be joined by the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch. But first, let's have a look at those latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon. These are the top stories just after 2:30. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has thanked police and prison staff after the migrant sex offender who was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth was rearrested in North London. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of the Labour Party ahead of the budget later this month. Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director General Tim Davie to, quote, explain or resign over the bias scandal engulfing the broadcaster. He said that the BBC has been caught red-handed and has demanded that the Director General address the left-wing bias. Elsewhere, small boat crossings have surged again. GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours. And the Prince of Wales will end his first visit to Brazil by meeting Indigenous people to hear about the role that they play in protecting critical ecosystems. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you very much, Sophia. And there's loads more coming up on today's show. The Metropolitan Police are branded systemically racist. A new report warns anti-black bias runs deep within the force's structure as calls grow for urgent reform.
Well, all of that and much more indeed to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's mild again out there today, not quite as mild as yesterday. A grey day for many, some sunshine across parts of northern Scotland in particular, and there's some rain around too, courtesy of this low pressure sitting out to the west and these weather fronts gradually working their way northwards, also bringing the air up from the south, which is why it's so mild. Rain then lingering across parts of southwest Wales, southwest England, some heavy bursts mixed in here. Could be some heavier showers moving ahead of it across England and Wales too, turning wet for Northern Ireland. Much of Scotland dry, some sunny spells across the far north after a misty, murky start. Many places turning a bit brighter, but generally staying quite cloudy and staying mild. Temperatures 15-16 degrees. The wind's generally quite light, but a brisk wind blowing with this rain into the southwest. The winds, though, light across northern Scotland. As I said, some fine weather across the far north. We'll have some clearer skies here into the evening, but staying fairly damp across Northern Ireland. There'll be outbreaks of rain and drizzle through the evening rush hour, as there will be across much of Wales. Pembrokeshire, Devon and Cornwall should be turning drier through this evening as that zone of wet weather works its way up across Hampshire and in towards the Midlands. Again, nothing too heavy, but damp and drizzly conditions here. That all tends to edge a bit further north through the night. So if you're heading out this evening, be prepared for some rain and drizzle, but as I said, nothing too heavy. Wales and southwest England turns drier and clearer, and as a result, could turn a bit chillier for sure. Temperatures down to single figures, and also some mist and fog is likely to form in a few places. On to Saturday, overall much brighter day. Many of us will see some sunshine, but it will be quite a drab start across eastern counties of England, and some here may stay grey well into the afternoon. Stays a bit damp and drizzly across Shetland too. A few showers for Wales and southwest England possible, but many places dry and brightening up through Saturday with some sunny spells and still quite mild.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Motorists face restrictions on the A68 between Leaderfoot and Drygrange due to an incident. Please proceed with caution. Northbound traffic on the A4232 between the A48 interchange and M4 junction 33, Capel-Lanilturn is significantly congested. In Northamptonshire, a collision on the A45 eastbound between junctions with the A6 and A14 has closed a lane. In Suffolk, the A14 eastbound remains closed between junctions 40 and 41 due to a collision. And on the trains, London North Western Railway runs a reduced service at Rugeley-Trent Valley, while London Overground has no trains between Richmond and Gunnersbury. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is is 39 minutes past 2. An independent report has concluded that systemic racism exists within the Metropolitan Police.
Well, the review concluded that darker-skinned Met staff were labelled confrontational, whilst lighter-skinned employees might receive more empathy and even leniency.
Yes, with the findings, Sadiq Khan said the pace of cultural reform had to speed up, whilst the commissioner of the report, Sir Mark Rowley, recognised the scale of the challenges the Met faces.
Well, joining us now is the former chair of the Haringey Independent Stop and Search Monitoring Group, Ken Hines. Ken, it's always been said that the Metropolitan Police has got a problem with particularly policing black communities. Now, it has been litigated time and time again about whether or not stop and search is actually disproportionate to the number of people that are actually committing the crime when you break it down on an ethnic basis. But this is different. This is a question about how black police officers are being treated within the Metropolitan Police.
Yes, and it's very troubling. But there's the report from Dr. Shireen Daniels have got no surprises for me, because we've been over the decades. We've been through Scarman, Macpherson, we've been through Lammy, the Casey report. These are all saying similar traits, saying institutionalized racism lies at the heart of it. And when we got someone like Mark Rowley, who's the lead, that's denying that there's anything serious about it, it's a few bad apples and not the barrel that is rotten. It's like equating to an ostrich burying his head and saying, do I look really bothered? And and this can't be right. It's reached this stage now, and this is laid bare for anyone just to read, and it's there to see that how bad things are. And it's just not just about the black police, it's about how it's in every aspect of the fabric of the police that is worrying. So it means that even when you apply for work, you might send a CV or you might send a video or whatever, these people have already got their biases to see if you are going to be worthy to be part of the Met. And what's troubling is that when they have that sort of laddish culture, it's not surprising that what BBC uncovered in Panorama at Charing Cross is much widespread than what we're led to believe. I feel that, just to say that I feel that he's just thinking it's another storm, and if he keeps his head buried in the sand, it will pass. And when he comes up, it would not affect him.
Ken, I do feel like we have been discussing this story, well, certainly since 1993 with the Stephen Lawrence story. Nothing seems to change. It seems to be getting worse. What needs to be done?
Look, all these amazing and wonderful words that Mark will come out with, he talks a talk, but he has to start walking the walk. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you've got to look at the training. Because I am one of the community presenters at Hendon Police Academy. And what I find is that the young recruit is held in like cotton wool. Yeah, they're insulated from the real world. And so you're not preparing them for what they're about to do. And so it's not surprising that when we send these youngsters out into the community proper, that they're, in many cases, are terrified. And because they haven't had the proper skill training to give them that resilience to be able to deal with people, particularly from my race, who may not look like them. And what I'm also worried about is that the kind of people that they do employ who look like me must fit into their culture, otherwise they're not coming in. So,
Ken, what do you mean by that? That simply hiring black police officers isn't enough? They must be working class black police officers? They must be black police officers who've grown up in the certain council estates that they wish to police? I mean, what do you mean that they must act or must fit in to the communities that they're trying to police?
No, I'm not. I'm saying they must fit into the Met's way. This ain't about fitting into the community. I'm talking about at the recruit level, about how they're only accepting people who they think won't be a problem, who's not going to give them a headache or stand up or be challenging, even though they're from a different race. So
hang on. Isn't it completely acceptable to think that you don't want your employees to be challenging every decision, that you do want an element of hierarchy within an organisation like the police that operates on such an ordered basis? Isn't that a completely legitimate hiring practice, that you would want people who follow orders?
Not for the Met Police, because they are policing by consent. They're policing through people like myself saying, yes, I respect and accept your authority in this regard. That's going to be proportionate. So I'm saying that is slightly different. But when they do get people who want to be part of that laddish culture, it means that the serial evidence and things of that nature will become cover-up, because people will not be whistleblowers if they're going to be, chastised. And I talked to quite a number of black police officers over the years, and they all say the same thing, that they've got to keep their head down and they just want to reach that 30 years and come into retirement. I remember we had a black commander just after the riots here in Tottenham, and I saw directly how he was undermined by some juniors, only because of the colour of his skin. It meant that they didn't take him serious, and as a consequence, things didn't improve.
That's appalling. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today. That's former chair of Haringey Independent Stop and Search Monitoring Group, Ken Hines, there, with some appalling examples of racism in the Metropolitan Police Force.
And I'm sure there is. I do understand, though, that a lot of people do make the argument that this isn't necessarily every police officer, and of course it isn't.
Not. No. It seems to be the system rather than individuals, and that is, as I said, the story I feel like I've been covering for over 30 years now, sadly.
Well, following the publication of the latest report, Sir Mark Rowley has said that London is a unique global city, and the Met will only truly deliver policing by consent when it is inclusive and anti-racist.
He added that the force would go after the patterns of discrimination that show up in our operational work and within the organisation by identifying and addressing their root causes.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and coming up, the nation's been glued, of course, to the celebrity traitors. And one comedian, Mr. Alan Carr, has been the breakout star.
Some of us haven't watched it yet.
Well, for those that haven't watched it, we won't reveal who wins, but of course, Alan Carr was a standout star.
The rule of holes, just stop digging.
No. I said a standout star.
Yeah.
I didn't say who won.
Any case.
Could have been Nick Mohammed.
No spoilers alert, but we'll have all that for you after the European weather.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled weekend to come for central parts of the Med, although Spain and Portugal will get away with plenty of sunshine. It's going to be breezy through the Canary Islands as well as Madeira, a few showers here. Less breezy for Portugal and much of Spain, but we continue to see a strong wind through eastern parts of Spain, wrapped around a low that's going to bring some heavy rain to the Balearics, and then as that moves east, it's going to bring further wet weather to Italy as well as Greece during Sunday and into the start of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
OK, welcome back. It is 10 to 3 now, and I'm not doing the last part of the show. I'm just going to sit here and go la, la, la.
And why is that, Dawn?
Because we are going to be talking about celebrity traitors.
Now, it might sound that this is a little bit trivial, but the latest statistics show that this was the most streamed entertainment programme the BBC has ever put online.
Yeah.
There were 2 million people watching this just on computers last night, let alone on live television.
Yeah, no, it's been an incredibly popular series, and I have been the only episode of The Traitors I've ever watched, and I couldn't watch it last night because I was working.
That's unlike you, Dawn. You never work.
I know. But it has truly gripped the nation, and... put your fingers in your ears if you don't want to hear this bit. Alan Carr's quick wit and one-liners certainly lies at the heart of the show's success.
Yes, the former chatty man host is tipped for even more TV success now, with rumours swirling he's among the frontrunners to become the next host of Strictly Come Dancing.
Make that one up. OK, joining us now is TV and showbiz editor of the Daily Star, Ed Gleave. Ed, do not give me any spoilers. I know where you live. I'll come and thump you. Why has this been so incredibly popular? It's the most popular series of The Traitors ever, isn't it?
It is, by quite some stretch, and more popular than anything else on TV as well. And, I mean, its numbers match up to stuff that was airing 20 years ago. It's extraordinary. I think the format is exceptional. I think it's something all ages can watch. I also think often a celebrity series can feel a bit pointless, but this really did have different sort of insight and different ways of working to a normal series. And also, crucially, they had a really incredible lineup of celebrities, like full of household names like Tom Daley, Stephen Fry, Claire Balding, like people who would never normally do a reality show. So it was brilliant viewing.
That's the thing. I'm absolutely sick to death of watching television where it's a so-called celebrity episode or celebrity series, and I've only heard of one of the people in the blooming show. I mean, I'd heard of most of the people on this show.
Yeah, they got some genuinely talented people, which is quite unusual, really. I mean, the producers told me their one rule was no reality stars. Even Strictly gets, Love Islanders and YouTubers on. But this one, they were very firm. They wanted just sort of old school household names, and they banned reality stars. So that's why it was such a good list.
Thank
fact,
goodness.
they didn't commission it and then look for people. The reason they commissioned it is because so many celebrities came to them and said, if you do a celebrity one, we'd love to do it. And so they thought, well, if we've got all these great names available, we should give it a go.
Ed, I don't want you to tell me how it happened exactly, but did the show produce a worthy winner?
I think that the final was exceptional. I think because it was celebrities, it didn't really matter who won. It was going to be great viewing anyway. And obviously they're not, like, they're going for charity, so it's not got the same sort of tension as if they were winning the money for themselves in the normal series. But I mean, I think last night's TV was objectively a gripping hour, brilliantly edited, full of great moments. I think it was, top tier reality TV.
Yeah, it seems like some of the surprises were kept. I don't know how much of the actual sort of... Very often through the show, they showed us cutaways where the contestants would tell us their plan. It seemed we got less and less of that, perhaps as the editors were keeping some surprises behind the scenes, and there were some genuine surprises there. But also, I think, compared to the Common or Garden regular version of the show, you did get a lot more explanation from these people. But Ed Cleave, thanks indeed
Thank you very much,
for
Ed.
joining us and talking through a remarkably popular BBC television programme. There's a novelty.
That's it from us for today. Thank you so much for watching. Good afternoon, Britain, but don't go anywhere because the wonderful Martin Daubney is up next with a cracking show for you.
Absolutely. He'll be bringing you, of course, further news on that remarkable news that after 6 days on the run, the accidentally released illegal migrant has now been caught.
All that
after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the